I shall never desire. I shall never
Mighty lots of.
I shall never
Let them buy their wedding.
I shall never
Love unlimited absolute.
I shall never desire.
Ever but
I shall never
The feeling I want from you.
I shall never
let them buy their wedding.
I shall never
Let's
Love unlimited absolute.
what my plan.
Good guts. Don't let us.
What my plan.
Good guts. Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
Good guts.
let them buy their wedding.
What my plan.
Good guts. Love unlimited absolute.
What my plan.
Good guts. Come into all. Don't let us.
What my plan.
Good guts. Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
Good guts.
Let them buy their wedding.
What my plan.
Good guts. Love unlimited absolute. Did absolute. Did absolute.
I shall never
Every day,
desire.
I do.
I shall never
every day,
Mighty lots of.
I shall never
let them buy their wedding.
I shall never
Love unlimited absolute.
I shall never
Let's
Can twist the heart.
I shall never
let's stay.
Mighty lots of.
I shall never
Let's let them buy them wedding.
I shall never
Love unlimited absolute.
what my plan.
Good guts. Don't let us.
What my plan.
Good guts. Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
Good guts.
Let them buy their wedding.
What my plan.
Good guts. Love unlimited absolute.
What my plan.
Good guts. Come into all. Don't let us.
What my plan.
Good guts. Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
Good guts.
Let them buy their wedding.
What my plan.
Good guts. Love unlimited absolute.
Breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in. Conquer it. Breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in.
Well, hello everyone. Excuse me. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Darachat. Yes, I know I'm getting over a bit of a sickness, but at least I'm a lot better than was before. The coughs were a lot worse. Oh Lord, they were a lot worse. But anyway, my name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short, and I am with the lovely. Is it Charede or Charade?
Charade, but yeah, there's a long story behind that one.
Uh-oh. Sure, I was for a second. I was like, is she trying to do that thing where she's trying to tell me it's a charade? Because I don't know how I'm gonna work this. But anyway, yes, thank you for coming on. And of course, yes, I'm still under the weather, but you know what? I will persevere. So you will hear a funny sounding once in a while, but I'm here just like everyone else. So thank you all for being here. And of course, it is cold outside where I am. So, ugh. But anyway, thank you for coming on, Charede. So you're gonna have to tell me about that. What is that about?
Oh, the name thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, this goes back many, many years. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. Prior to World of Warcraft, though, I didn't really have much of a username on the internet. I just had all sorts of random, silly usernames. You know, kids, teenagers, what they're like, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But when I played World of Warcraft, I was like, I need a character name that's unique and that I will respond to, because I was in such a habit of playing single player stuff.
Right.
That I was like, okay, I need something I respond to. So I was like, okay, so I want my first name's Charlotte. So I was like, okay, so let's have Char at the start of it. And it's like, what words have got Char in it? And then I started like brainstorming. And then anyway, I went to type charade, as in the game charades. And
Yeah.
I typoed it and put an extra E in it instead of an A by accident. I was like, oh, this name's unique. And I was like, oh, well, let's correct the typo. Whoopsie. Corrected the typo, wasn't unique. I was like, you know what? We're sticking with the typo. So typo stuck. Char I respond to. and it didn't get taken in most places. So it was just like, you know what, we're just having that then. And then a lot of my character names had C something at the start of them, and it just became this long string of characters will see something, but Char ended up sticking.
Yeah.
My nickname's Charlie, and then I like Pokemon, so Charizard is the other one that I get a lot. So, but Charade ended up being the name, but yeah, it was because of a World of Warcraft character, and then I made a Twitch account because of one of the World of Warcraft lot, and it just stuck. I didn't really intend to get into streaming. It was more of an accident than anything else.
Right, yeah.
I was like, I'm not changing the name now. I can't be bothered. I'm sticking with it. So I was like, yeah, we're just doing that. So
if it works, you might as well. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a bit of a freak accident, that one, but it just stuck. And the problem is we're now 13 years down the line, and I'm just like, why change it now? So
sometimes the best ones they're at are those freak accidents. Like, oh man, I wish it wouldn't have happened. Then you're like, I'm glad it happened. I really am. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
But no, that's pretty great. Now I've never played World of Warcraft. I mean, I remember when it was like back in the day, the old stuff. But that's far and few in between. But I've never been a big player of those games. It's not. I mean, I get why some people play it. It's just not my forte of things. It's sort of like people who play Overwatch or COD, that sort of stuff, right? You get these experts in, and it's just like they click, boom, all that stuff, and I'm just like, I can't even get one hit, guys. Can you at least just give me a break? It's like those people who play Fortnite too, who play it professional. It's like,
oh yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I can't get that. I play a little bit of no build, but I struggle. It's like a pensioner trying to play with like one, but I'm not quite that bad, but it feels like it sometimes. But yeah, it doesn't play to my strengths, that game. I was alright with PUBG. I wasn't too bad at PUBG.
No,
but
that's
Fortnite,
good.
it's just can't. I just can't. The building just doesn't sit with me at all.
I can't. I have to do 0 builds because I tried playing. Those people can spam builds. They will spam builds to trap you.
I don't have the coordination for it. I swear, part of it's my age now, but it's it's just too much coordinating too quickly. It's like I like playing StarCraft, but it's too much microing for my taste. But I'll quite happy. I used to play competitive Total War back in the day, and I did quite well at it. And I love it. I love Total War, and there's quite a bit of micro in that. But because I used to do the original like Rome and stuff like that, and I used to love that because I love historical, I love classic, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't mind doing that. But StarCraft for some reason just didn't sit with me, so I just played the campaign solo for a bit of fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Total War, I was so into it that I could, deal with it. But StarCraft players on some whole other planet, they really are, because how quick they're zipping around all over the place, and my brain just goes to mush. I just can't deal with that. That side of it. I'll sit back from one perspective and plan it all out and go boom, 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 do this. But then flipping all over the map, like that melts my brain. I can't be doing that. So that's where I draw the line. I just lose all perception of space and what's going on around me at that point. It's just
I must have great power.
Because I get Zerg rushed every time. I'm just like, bugs. I just no, please, no more. I'm a turtling up kind of player. So I used to do this with like Age of Empires and all that as well. I love turtling up. I am terrible for it.
Yeah, I'm not very heavy on per se like multiplayer. Because I'm more of casual, so I'll be like Fortnite, like I'll play that, but it'll be very on a casual basis, right? I'll be like the sneaky, hide behind the bush and wait for someone to come. My shooting aim is awful. I'm just gonna stay out there right now. It's like I get one hit in, it's like yes, and then the 5 after is like, oh dang it.
Well, don't worry. Even like I'll tell you, it was a great time. Even people that you'll have those moments though, especially in little shooters where things will happen. There will be those little magic silly moments, because my partner played Counter-Strike for the first time a couple of years ago because of me. We were all mucking around just playing a casual chill everybody against everybody kind of thing. Anyway, it was so funny. It was like his first time playing. We set up this multiplayer custom lobby of just people going against each other. And I kid you not, right? We've been playing for maybe 20 minutes and we kind of like randomly set teams up, etc. And I kid you not, my partner shot across the middle of the map, okay, with this weapon. He dinged someone in the head. And I was right behind that player and got dinged in the head immediately afterwards. He took 2 people out with 1 bullet and he got me. And the thing is, it took him about 30 seconds of buffering to realize in the kill feed that he got me. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, dude, it's a game, chill. I was like, congratulations, well done. It was so funny because he was panicked. It was so funny. You should have been there. It was so funny. But we were all just mucking around having a laugh and doing silly stuff. It was like, spin round, see who you get, and, you know, just being silly with it. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Skill level doesn't matter. Just have fun and get stuck in, and silly stuff like that will happen. You just got to go with the flow sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
it's like with COD. I'm crap at the new COD. I know life Black Ops 2 though. I absolutely know life it. But I love doing it. It was fun. But yeah, the new one, I'm bloody useless.
Yeah, and I just and that seems to be like a core of what you do anyway. It's just gaming in general. So, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Is that you? I mean, that's not. I mean, there are so many people out there that do gaming as a core thing. It's not unheard of. But I mean, you try to do a bunch of different stuff with that and all that stuff. Love that mug. Oh,
I know it. My brother's partner got it for me because he works at Safari Park.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's a little bit chipped, unfortunately, but it's lovely. I love it. It's great. Nice deep mug. It's great for hot chocolate as well. No, I have that very often, but
oh yeah, love hot chocolate. I can't.
Tea.
I can't drink tea, unfortunately, and coffee just does not sit well for me. So
no. I love tea. Coffee makes me wired as crazy. It's I have a company that isn't it like an energy drink, but like a clean energy drink. That stuff I'm fine with. Tea, I'm fine with. Coffee, I'm like, but like I get so nuts. I made the worst mistake ever though. I had like 2 cups of coffee before a horror stream, and I was like, never again, never again. That was like the worst decision ever. I was so wired the whole night. I mean, it kept me awake, don't get me wrong, but being chased by this like blood-sucking crazy lady with a puppet on her hand going at you constantly. Oh my god, I was just a mess. I was screaming, I was hiding in this cupboard. My friend was like, can you leave the cupboard for 2 minutes? I was like, I'm trying. This creepy guy walking up and down threatening me with a needle. I was just like, yeah, it was fun in hindsight. Bad decision though. It's not a good way to start it off.
So in other words, coffee makes the night interesting. All right, got it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, I can't. There's a place here in the States. It's called like Tivana or something like that, and they had some. They had some teas, but for me, tea is more of just like you can do whatever, but it's mostly just hot water. Basically, is the taste of it, and that's why I don't drink tea, because it's just that.
It's basically plant water. Let's be honest.
Right.
It is effectively, it's plant. I don't like the flowery ones. That's the ones that get me. The like herbally ones. I don't for some reason don't get along with those.
Yeah, well,
nice black leaf tea. It's good. I like it. There's a particular brand I drink, and it's just it's so good. You just got the right moment, relax, enjoy it. Especially when it's a nice aromatic one. But I don't get the flowers in tea. I really that is where I'm like, what? I had a really funny time with it though, because when I was a teenager, I went abroad and doing like Rotary Club. I don't know if you know what that is.
I think I've heard Rotary Club. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it.
Well, anyway, they were doing some stuff with the youth because they were basically bringing a bunch of European nations together to give the youth vote on issues, that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of like really old people bringing really young people in and being like, right, we're doing all this policy stuff with the government, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. We're going to bring the Rotary Club in to get the young people in, and we want to know what they think. And it was really funny. They were lovely. It was great. We had a great time, but we were looking at things to do with predominantly like forestry and management of invasive species, that kind of stuff. And we had to do presentations and blah, blah, blah. And we got to go around, do little cultural visits and that kind of stuff and presentation. It was really, really good. Really, really lovely. But I tell you what, you knew who the English were in the room. And you know why, right? Because we had an afternoon lunch,
Yeah.
kind of sit down kind of thing at the local, government building at this particular place. We all sat down, everybody's on their tables for their different place. So there was opportunity to mingle and all the rest of it. But anyway, they was like, oh, do you want biscuits and tea and coffee, blah, 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 the rest of it. And we're like, oh, yeah, we'd love cups of tea. That would be fantastic. So they went away and did their tea. Okay. And they come back and we've got these cups and the clear cups, but the liquid's pink. And we were all looking going, that's not tea. And we're all too polite to say anything because it was like, we ordered tea, but we've got pink. What was really bad was there's all these like pink teas, right? And then I get mine because I asked for milk. So I've got this milky pink tea. It looked horrendous. Anyway, we drank it all in the end. It was raspberry flavored. That's what it was. Yeah,
Right.
so it was actually quite nice. But we were all looking at it. You could just see our faces going, that's not tea. What have they given us? And just the horror. So everybody else is just getting on with it. This is totally normal. And we're just all there with horror-struck faces. It's just like, yeah, you know which table's got the British people on it. So we're all there going, that's not tea. That's not tea. We weren't asked what tea either. That's the thing. It was just, do you want tea? And we were like, yes. Thinking that translated, but no, their idea, because it was Eastern European country. But yeah, when you say tea, they think fruit tea, and of course we hadn't made the connection.
Yeah.
So we just ordered it without thinking. It was so funny, but it was. The thing is, we started going around on the trip thinking, is this actually what this means? It was like, you know, when you start second guessing yourself at everything.
Yep.
Like, do I order this? Is this the correct thing? Is a waffle still, or is this and you just, it was so funny.
Yeah. Or
we had a great time. We had a good chuckle about it. We talked about it with a few of the students later down the line. They were like, oh, we didn't know. And it was like, yeah. So we had a good laugh. Anyway, it's just weird. It's, little things like that. You don't think about being different when you're somewhere else, but then actually there's going to be this huge disconnect on what someone means about something. I know it's so daft, but it was just funny being in that room because I would have loved to have been like in the corner of the room watching, because all the faces just suddenly dropping when the tea turned up. It must have been a right picture from a third party perspective. But we were trying to like be polite, and as I say, it was really nice anyway. So it was a nice discovery. So fruity tea, I'll do. Flowery chamomile, no. I've tried it. Don't get along with it.
Yeah, isn't chamomile a flowery tea?
It is, yeah. It's a flower. It's like a white flower, I think, with like a yellow middle. Is my understanding of it. But yeah, it's really smelly flower. I don't know. I never got along with it.
Because I know a lot of English either drink like was it like there's green tea,
there's matcha teas and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but the traditional English breakfast, it's the black leaf tea is what we tend to go for, but the chamomile, I don't understand it. I've never done this, obviously, but I would imagine it tastes like licking a lawn because I don't know, it just tastes like grass. I'm just like I don't know, stick your head in a flower pot. I don't know, that's what I imagine it tastes like.
Licking a lawn.
It's just my brain is so used to black leaf tea that it's just such a different. Yeah, it's just something to get your head across. You know where I'm coming from, though. It's not what you expect. But sorry, just a horrible image of someone dunking a flower pot and going, no.
This tastes like dirt. I didn't know tea was supposed to taste like this. It's called dirt tea, sir. Dirt tea. A bitter tea. Oh, so you're saying it's a bitter tea. It's a bitter tea.
Sorry, it's such a weird tangent to go off on. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. That's hilarious, though. No, I've only heated the water in the microwave. I've never done the tea.
Oh, don't microwave tea. That's how you upset people. Jeez.
No, I microwave the water, not that, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, the water in the kettle, fine, but doing it in a jug in the microwave.
Always something with people. Always something. This is the way you're supposed to do. This is not. It's just tea. What more do you want? Goodness, you lose people left and right with that one. Goodness sake.
That's how you divide a room right there.
It's like, all right, we're gonna hang him by his fingers and see how long he lasts, right? He wanted it in the microwave. He's gonna get it in the microwave upside down.
I just imagine someone coming over here and setting up a British pub, but then doing everything deliberately different, like just to wind everybody up, and then turning it into like a Big Brother show.
Yeah.
How long before people walk out?
Oh,
That's a YouTube show right there.
yeah.
That's,
Oh,
the
this
new,
is-
that's what Netflix should do. They should have that people actually watch.
This is lovely right there. I'm leaving. Out. But no, it's pretty funny when you, because I know I have a farmer's market near where I live, and there was a
Alright.
gentleman. There was an English gentleman there. He was selling Jamie Dodger's what was it? Lemon barley or barley lemonade or something like that. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's a very popular summer drink here.
yeah, and a few other things too. But he is from the UK, but he moved here and he sort of sold this sort of stuff because I mean it's not a high commodity for that sort of thing. Freshly baked, mind you, freshly baked, but it's not a high commodity for English cuisine because there's you probably can find some places in the United States that serve this sort of thing, but it's mostly the Americanized version.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And Davey says could be funny to watch. We'll need to be a Brit host though. What?
Oh, I tell you what, you do get an American host and a British host on, and have them butt heads over it constantly. That would be funny.
Now we come here to the great show on Earth. Your face. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting because there's also there's they're not Irish or anything, but they have an Irish pub here, and they try to make it somewhat similar to that sort of feel of it. But they just because they love going to Ireland, and so they kind of brought something back with them to have that sort of feel. And they serve they serve like with some Scotch eggs.
Scotch eggs, yes,
Yep.
yeah.
That's
So you know what those are, right?
Yes, it's like a sausage surrounding a soft-boiled egg.
But yeah, and then
yeah.
they breadcrumb it over. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is it's just all right for me, but man, those, whoo boy.
Yeah.
After a while, you're like, I can only stick with one.
I'm not even joking. I had a friend to come over from the States, and they genuinely thought you could only get them in Scotland, and they were just boiled eggs served by a Scottish man. And I was just like, really? I just, did you not Google this before you ordered one? They just said, no, we saw it on the menu. Thought it'd be interesting. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, bagpipes, kilt. Why not? You just got the whole hog while you're at it, Sorry, it dumbfounded me. Honestly, I didn't realize I didn't know. But then again, if it's not in your area, then I mean, you'd go by the most literal translation of it. So I could see why they made that jump.
Yeah.
But it was just funny. The other interpretation of it that came to my mind, and this was obviously not what they'd got to, was that she's just an egg with like a kilt around it, made of like marzipan or something. I don't know. But then again, that's a bit more of a stretch. But yeah, it was just funny. But the thing is, right? I'm sure if I went to the States, there'd be things I'd order, and I would completely butcher it and muck it up. And I mean, the other thing as well, you got so many places that are like the same name. If I got in a taxi, they'd probably send me to the wrong state because I'd be like, I want to go to I think, isn't there 2 Las Vegases or something? I'd go the wrong way. I'd end up in the wrong state. Like, I'd end up at the wrong airport. I'm just a nightmare. I'd be completely the wrong place.
Well, I think if you're talking, I think if you're talking about the Las Vegas, people would try to clear it up and say, you mean Las Vegas, Nevada? It's like, yeah that's one.
See, that's the one everybody thinks of over here because of CSI and, pop culture and the rest of it. But I found out recently because you guys had some kind of incident over there with some dude who was driving with EV vehicle or something. Anyway, he ended up at a different one, apparently. I was like, there's another Las Vegas? I was like, what? I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I really would get lost if I was over there. Because I put it in the sat nav and I probably end up at the wrong one. That's the problem. Yeah. Not to mention the fact you guys drive on the other side of the road and everything else. Yeah. I'd just be a mess. And also, as well, I know about the thing. Don't you guys add VAT on top after at the till?
What do you mean?
That? Yeah, like when you're shopping in the supermarket, your price on the shelf isn't the final price, is it? I've heard it's like you go to the till and then it adds VAT. That's really confusing.
It's sales tax is what it is. It's sales
Right,
tax.
okay.
Yeah, it's sales tax. So it's like depending on what state you're in will be the percentage of, but it's basically sales tax. So you're correct in saying that yes, what you see on the shelf is not the final price.
Yeah,
But
see, in the UK that wouldn't happen. Everything that's on the shelf, that's the final price. And
yeah,
even like if there's a deal, they have to declare it on the shelf. Like it's very. But I could see how that would catch people out. Do you know what I mean? You go to the States, pick everything up, it comes to a 50, and then they're like, hang on, it's like 70? What happened? Do you know what I mean?
yeah. It's just one of those things where you kind of guesstimate. I mean, that you have
Yeah.
enough to do so, right?
Yeah.
You could do all that couponing stuff if you want to, but at the end of it, it's more of just it is what it is. But yeah, no, that you're not wrong in that regard, where you come to different place and you're sort of just bewildered. I will say this: it's a lot bigger than your home, your place, though, because
Oh yeah.
there's a lot more open spaces compared to the UK.
Yeah, you've got huge gaps, haven't you, between major locations and stuff. I mean, this is the other thing that I think is a bit of a culture shock for some people as well. Because again, I had a friend that came across from the States, and they went to visit someone else, and they stayed kind of down my neck of the woods. But they had somebody that was in the southern part of Scotland.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, while I'm here, let's have everybody come visit and have a chat, blah, 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 blah. And there was some people in Manchester and something like, say, southern Scotland. And they were like, oh, I'm at such and such a place. Let's come meet. Let's have lunch. And the thing is, when you look at like the US roads versus like UK ones, like you guys have, I think, much higher speed limits, especially for those ones that are really distant out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We have traffic jams out the wazoo everywhere you go, for a start. Our roads are a lot slower. And the thing is, the expectation of someone to come up from the north end of the country down to the south, that's not how we operate. 99% of people will not do that. Our idea of a long commute, if you're commuting more than 30 minutes, that's a lot. If you're asking someone to drive like 4 or 5 hours, that's seen as nuts for lunch. But I know in the States there are people that go several states over and they don't bat an eyelid at it for a weekend or whatever. But just over here, we don't do that really, unless you've got like a job that's, commutable or whatever, and you got to go a couple of hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you commute in for the week and then you commute back out for the weekend, that kind of stuff. People will do that. But yeah, just the it's a mindset difference, isn't it? Because again, the geography and the differences. But yeah, to go from one end of the country to the other. I mean, I'd go see family in Scotland.
Yeah.
But we would overnight stop somewhere, then carry on, and it would be like a several day escapade to do it. Yeah, because as I say, our roads are crap in the nicest way possible.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's so many places where you get bottlenecked. And I mean, the other thing as well is you've got those big, bulky, high-speed roads everywhere. Where I live, there isn't a single motorway. There's none.
Wow.
That's how remote of an area I'm in.
Jeez.
Yeah, you have to travel a good couple hours to get on a motorway. And this is completely alien. But again, because the differences in the size of the country and that, it warrants you guys having these massive high-speed roads.
Yeah.
But if you want to get anywhere to do anything in any kind of sensible time,
Yeah.
it's a necessity, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But here, I'll go half hour, I'll go an hour, but I ain't going any further. The thing is, though, where I will travel and get in an hour is going to be way shorter of a distance than what you guys can travel in an hour, because again of the difference in the roads and all the higgledy mess that we've got.
Yeah.
So I mean, I live in a town. My partner lives 12 miles away from me, for perspective.
Right.
If I don't hit bad traffic, and this is after peak hours, it can take me nearly an hour just to get out of the town I live in. I've had an instance where it took me 2 hours to get to my partner. Yeah. On a normal day where it's not nuts and I miss peak hour, we're talking 45 minutes for me to go visit him.
Right.
12 miles. 12 miles. If I took the slightly shorter route, I could probably do it in half an hour.
Yeah.
But, and that's because of all the craziness just inside a town, So,
yeah.
And then you've got flooding. traffic disruptions, you've got all the construction because that's going on all the time. So yeah, I avoid all peak hour at all costs because it's just nuts. It's absolutely bonkers. But anyway, yeah, it's just one of those like different things, isn't it? Like say mindset and what you used to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a whole different conversion system on that regard either, because you're not dealing with the metric system anymore either. So you're coming.
Weird. We do we're a hybrid system, so we use miles per hour for driving.
Interesting.
But for milk, traditionally it's pints.
Right.
But now we're both.
Interesting.
But it depends. It depends on the supermarket, though. Some will do milliliters, some will do pints only, some will do both. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird. So we're in this like weird straddly system kind of, but there's no way I can see cars changing from like miles per hour and us doing distances in anything other than miles. But when it comes to weight, we tend to do kilograms more these days.
Yeah.
When I was at school, we learned to do pounds and stone, but they don't really do that much these days. But yeah, so we're in this weird like straddle between the two. It's weird. It's weird. It's very weird, but it's just how it's always been, and it's just kind of where things have gone. So,
Yeah. Well,
so yeah, it makes a bit of a mess situation. You know, walk into a supermarket, you don't get the pints or you don't get the mils. You sat there trying to work it out. I mean, obviously, there's the size of the bottle that generally gives it away.
Yeah.
But again, it confuses some people.
Yeah. Because in America we have quarts, and I think it's gallons. Because we
don't do quarts really for anything.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is when we're doing petrol, our gallon for petrol is different to your gallon for petrol.
Yeah.
Just to confuse matters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then we don't call it petrol; we just call it gas. But that's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
But it's a whole other system and all that stuff. Because I remember when that article came out, when you guys had your heat wave, and it was like, I can't remember what the Celsius was, but in the translated version of that, it ended up being like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is nothing to most Americans. But the point of the matter was that you guys are in a situation where you can't.
Oh, crumbs! I typed in the wrong chat.
No,
Sorry.
I can do it. I got it.
Sorry, I meant to post that in the YouTube. I was replying to Davey. Sorry,
I got it. I get you. No worries.
Being a clop.
You're fine.
Sorry. Anyway, you were saying before I derped.
No, it's
I'm a mess. I'm just a mess. I'm sorry. This is one of those days.
No, it's no, there's a lot of differences. Obviously, the biggest one is conversion rates. Although I didn't know that you guys had used at least some of the imperialistic, because that's what we're on, is imperial, where you're on metric. Although that kind of is outdated for a majority of the world, but unfortunately, well, it may not be for Greenland soon, but we won't know.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one. Yeah, it's like going to Europe as well. All the sockets. Oh my gosh, the amount of sockets.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got the English plugs.
Yeah,
but you go abroad, like I need 3 adapters. Like it drives me nuts. I got a little travel pack, and it's just got as many of them in possible. So if I go anywhere, just that right, which one goes in which hole, and just like figure it out. You know, I just I get there eventually. One of them's got to work. You know,
if it fits,
hybrid sockets as well that do all of them now. Thank God, but
if it fits. You know it works.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's what she said jokes in there. But I'm gonna go there. I'm sweet and innocent. I like to say to the guys, I'm fancy sweet and innocent. I know nothing.
Oh no, yeah, totally. You're totally sweet and innocent. Yo, I get it so well. Yeah. No wrongdoing here, guys. She is not a wrongdoing person. No.
I need a halo that descends from the ceiling. That's what I need. I need a button. That's what I need. I need to engineer that for the new office.
And then at the last moment it just falls off. It's like, oh,
boink. Yeah.
Taken out. No, yeah, that's right. The temperature difference. Yeah, when the article came out and the equation came out to 78 degrees, which for a majority of Americans isn't that difficult, unless you're like in Alaska, which is a different story altogether. A lot of Americans are like, oh, that's nothing to us. And then the people over, the English people were like, you don't understand. Our places aren't built
Oh
to
yeah,
absorb the heat like you guys do.
yeah. We're terrible. We're awful. Everything's pretty much made out of brick for a start.
Yeah.
We just suck heat in like crazy. Top that off with the fact that we cavity insulate as well on top, right? Our houses are a lot smaller, so you got less air in them.
Right.
Okay, so the space is, you haven't got the open plan stuff is way more modern, all right?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of places that do have it, but if you're talking like your Victorian row houses and all the rest of it, it's going to be small and it's going to be compact. And the thing is, as well, those are typically over like 3 stories, but you have got housing where the rooms are just shrinking because space is at premium in the UK, big time, right? They got to cram people in. So again, you've got a lot smaller rooms on average, plus the brick, plus the cavity insulation stuff, plus all the loft insulation craziness as well. So, and we don't do aircon in the UK. It's becoming more mainstream now, but the problem is if you rent a property or even if you own one, you don't put these dirty, great big things outside your window. Like, stuff requires so much planning permission, it's ridiculous. I tried to get solar panels on the roof. The council wouldn't allow it because it was on the wrong side of the roof because it would make the area not look as nice. They can just shut that down. Yeah, the thing is, my neighbor behind me, the other side, can do it because it's on the back of the house, not the front.
Right.
They'll shoot you down for silly things like that. Also, if you want to have a building or a shed or whatever, it's got to be under a certain size, not next to a blooming wall, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long list. I can understand some of it, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you want an aircon unit out a window, good bloody luck. You ain't getting that. I've got little freestanding little things, right?
Yeah.
They're great. But even those, like, you go back, like, 10, 15 years, we didn't really need them, and just not the companies over here doing them because it just wasn't necessary. Because who wants to cool stuff when you're freezing half the year anyway, right?
Right.
Because our typical temperatures, I mean, you're talking from like 0 degrees up to mid 20s, low 20s top. I'm talking centigrade, obviously, not Fahrenheit, because I can't work in Fahrenheit. My brain doesn't work that way.
So I
But
can't work.
we've been getting 40-degree summers. And it's nuts. And it's like, we're all like, ugh, like this. And the thing is, as well, in my office, I have to shut the window because of the neighbors. I've got all the insulation. And then I've got all the other stuff. So I'm just sweating buckets like crazy because I got no airflow going on or anything.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. So, yeah, we've been getting mad summers like that. And then we get freeze. I mean, we've had minus 18 up in Scotland.
Wow.
Recently. Yeah. I mean, I'm down south, so it's still been like minus 6, stuff like that. I think personally, I like 5 degree, 15 degree, somewhere in that ballpark, right? I'm happy as Larry with that, right? But the thing is, if we get into the mid 20s, everybody's melting their butts off, okay? If you get to like freezing and you get like an inch of snow, the whole country shuts down. We just don't function. We need Mr. Plowman to come out and deal with it because they don't even like grip most of the roads where I live. They can't. They just can't. It's not feasible because it's all country roads and it's nuts. So there'll be like one main path, but of course then that means everybody's going down the one main path, which is great when you've got tons of industrial traffic, especially up and down hills.
Right.
It's bonkers. So yeah, it becomes absolute bedlam. I was like, I'd love, a little squad to come over from Canada, come deal with it all for us, because they'd be great. Because like I said, we get a tiniest amount, everything's shut down, nobody's equipped to deal with it. Driving isn't great over here anyway. And the driving test standards are atrocious as well. So nobody knows how to drive in snow properly. It's not a requirement on the test. So as soon as we get any snow, nobody can go anywhere. It's just, it's a nightmare. It's so funny. It's weird because, like I say, you get people like in your country dealing with nutty, insane, dry or moist heat or this crazy amounts of snow.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one of my viewers lives in Japan and they had like snow up the wazoo halfway up their house and they're still all out working and doing everything. And I'm like, fantastic. It's like, can you tell us your secrets, please? We need it because it's getting worse over here and we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers. We're so behind, especially with infrastructure and dealing with that kind of stuff. Like I say, we're just not built to cope with it. And I guess it's also the acclimatization thing. If you've lived in the States all your life and you deal with like a hot location or whatever. Cool. But yeah, we're just not used to it in the UK, and we're just getting these yo-yo extremes, and it's just bonkers. So thankfully the air cons are coming in more. But as I say, if you're renting anywhere, you're not getting one. You're not going to get one tagged to your wall or whatever. It's just not going to happen. It's nigh on impossible. But the little freestanding things are coming in, which is great. I've got a couple of them. I need more of them. I need to start hoarding them. Problem is, then you got to store them. Then you create more problems. You end up with a whole room just full of like heaters and coolers.
So the hottest place we have in the United States is called Death Valley. And the hottest it gets, as far as I remember, is around 123 Fahrenheit, which is around 50 Celsius for you.
Yeah.
So that's hot.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a summer that bad, not in recent years, but let's say we've been getting up 35, 40, and that's been atrocious.
104, wow.
Yeah. It's just mad. Absolutely madness. I just want it all to calm down because I can't cope. I'm not equipped to deal with hot weather. I'm really not. Cold, at least I put more layers on,
Well, you were talking about the air conditioners, mobile ones. And I've talked to a few English people who've gotten them because, one of my things that I kept hearing about is that your electrical system isn't meant to deal with it. Is because air cons usually take up a big chunk of power.
Yeah,
I mean, they're basically refrigerators. Is basically what they are.
Yeah. Well, this is the other problem. We've got our electrical grid can't cope with the usage. We're constantly on the verge of blackouts because of how little overhead we've got. I mean, the town I live in, for example, I mean, you guys invest a lot more in your infrastructure, that stuff, but the town where I live is split. So half the town's on one transformer and the other's on the other. There's no backup. If it goes, it goes. That's it. Tough. And that's very common throughout the country. If the power goes, that's it. Tough. There's no backup except for like really cool big cities and that where they've got. I mean, it was bad enough when I was at uni, right? I kid you not, this was terrible. I was sat in my room playing a horror game. Okay, I had a friend of mine who was in a stream group that was sat watching. We were just recording, blah, blah, mucking around. I was playing Amnesia. Okay, that game, game, I had just started the game and was just slowly creeping around. Of course, he was trying to wind me up on purpose. We just been silly bit of banter and all the rest of it. And I kid you not, there's a bit in the game really early on, obviously very tutorially because it's early on, you got to grab a lantern. And just as my character grabbed to the lantern, just about to touch the lantern, boom! All gone. All the lights went, my computer went, everything. And I squealed. Bear in mind, I'm 7 floors up in uni accommodation. I've got 5 flatmates who were all in at the time because this is like at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Yeah. And I'll say there's flats either side, 7 floors, and there's a floor above. And I just squealed so loud. Power had gone out. You know why the power had gone out? Some muppet had stuck a shovel through it. I only found out 2 weeks later because the power was out for 4 days. It took him 4 days to get the block back on. I don't know what happened to the guy, but given he put a shovel straight through it, I don't think that probably ended too well for him. Yeah. But we had no power for 4 days. Because of that. Also, why were they doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning? That's what I want to know as well. Because let's face it, that's probably why he couldn't see what he was doing unless he had floodlights. Just a slight health and safety issue. But yeah, that's what happened. I found out later and I was like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know who did it or why or the circumstances that created that. But yeah, he just the wrong moment when I was doing this in a video game about horror and I was like really high strung. Yeah, bang, everything goes out. And I was absolutely having kittens over it. Thing is, what made it worse and what I realized after the fact was my friend didn't hear from me for 4 days. All he heard was a squeal and everything went dead silent. And I disappeared for 4 days as someone who's eternally on the internet. They were like, where the hell is Char gone? What happened? And he was like, she screamed and then we haven't seen from her. And they must have thought I'd been axe murdered or something. I don't know. Because even my best friends couldn't get hold of me because none of them had my number.
Oh
So
wow.
there's just me, yeah, no computer, no nothing, no way to get hold of these people because a lot of them were in the States or in Europe, whatever. So yeah, I just disappeared from the internet after playing a horror game and just randomly screaming and just nothing for 4 days. They
Probably.
were like, "What happened to Shah?" And I was like, oh, it was terrible. It was awful. I was like, I'm sat in my room. Thank you, I had a lantern, ironically,
Yeah.
given I was trying to pick one up in the game. So I had that. I had to use that for 4 days so I could have light.
Jeez.
I was eating out of a can and eating bread for 4 days because we couldn't do anything.
No.
So yeah, that was fun and games.
Yeah, usually,
yeah.
unless it's a big like hurricane storm or something to that fact, those big type stuff.
Mm.
Usually, the power comes back on within a few days' time, maybe 2 to 3 days, depending on it. Could come on back on the same day. It just depends on what the issue is. But yeah, that is such a travesty that your system can't be updated to the point that it works, or
Yeah.
it works better, right? Because you think with all the scientific and technological aspect, you at least have a little bit more better on your infrastructural areas. But I mean, you could point to the U.S. and say we're not much better because there's some aspects we're falling behind as well. We get complaints about our roads being bad or whatnot.
Oh, you haven't seen a bad road till you've seen a British pothole, I tell you. You need to look at British potholes, dude. We are like the kings of potholes, okay? We've got potholes that have like legends and culture written around them because they're so prolific. I'm not even joking. That's the sad thing, right? There are entire Facebook groups just dedicated to potholes because of how mental they are.
Yeah.
And there are people, little rogue groups that go around with their pot filler stuff, and they go around trying to eliminate them because they're so terrible at redoing the roads. You've got these little pothole vigilantes, basically, which is great because someone's got to deal with it. But yeah, like there's potholes that have got stories about like how they've destroyed cars and done blah blah blah. People kind of like riff on it and go nuts with it, but it's gotten that out of hand. It's just become a bit of like a meme thing in the UK. But yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. If you ever come driving in the UK, you got to watch for potholes, I tell you, because you'll take your whole suspension out with some of them. They're that deep and nuts. Like they are like genuinely ridiculous. You're not talking like a tiny little thing, massive, like it's almost like a gorge. Like some of them, they're like insanely big and ridiculous.
I first have to learn how to drive on the wrong side of the road, so there's that.
Oh, don't worry. Join me in Euro Truck Sim. It's hilarious. We have a challenge, right? You find a roundabout, you mount the roundabout at speed, and you see how much airlift you get on the other side. Great fun. Don't do it IRL. I'm going to put that disclaimer out there for anyone. But in the video game, it's hilarious. We play trucking games like it's wacky races. That's what we do. You get to A to B. We don't care what means. Fastest to get there wins. If you destroy stuff en route, it's a HR incident, as we call it.
Hey,
we very much treat it as a point scoring system at this stage.
As long as the product gets there, no one cares. All right, there you go.
Exactly.
Why are all these eggs crushed? Look, they're here now, so take them.
It's like me in Farming Sim, dude. I kid you not. I got a task on Farming Sim because they put a new Farming Sim game out.
Yeah.
I had to stack a tree in the back of a truck. It looked like a 3-year-old was playing with Jenga. It was terrible. We had a piece of tree like almost vertical. There was a piece outside of the truck, and we just strapped it on. We were like, we're just going. Because I was flapping around with the grabby claw. It was like the world's worst version of playing it, like those little crane games. It was it's like you got a blindfolded 4-year-old doing that. Like, just throw it everywhere. Why not? So yeah, we do that. We do that all the time. It's hilarious. The thing is, with the new one, they've got motorbikes. And I'm playing the Asia map.
Oh, wow.
So it's very hilly. So there's me on a motorbike, whee, straight off. It's like, oh, that's a valley down there. Whoops. And just go flying. It's so fun. Dude, you got to get on and come play with us sometime. It's amazing. It's such good fun. But we are absolute tyrants and a mess on that game. We got a truck stuck on a hill because it was too low. The hill was like that. So we ended up grinding it. We had to force it with tractors to shove it up the hill. It was, we didn't think it through. We really didn't think it through. We've had to come up with such convoluted, dumbass ways of getting around problems. But we've got rice fields. We've got a mushroom polytunnel now. It's vaguely functional.
There you
So,
go.
you know, we're getting there slowly.
Yeah.
We've already got a buyout plan for the nearby farm. Problem is, it's going to cost me $500,000 to do it. So we're trying to get the farm out of debt currently so that we can go ransack theirs because we want a shed.
Just start
All
throwing,
this for a shed.
just start throwing those logs over there. It'll be a lot. It'll be
Yeah.
more people.
Let's just yeet them, break the roofs, devalue the property, and then buy it up as a bargain.
What happened? Where did all these logs come from? We don't even know what's going on.
It's the demon goats. That's what we do. Go around with like foghorn into it in the corner. Like they're all the locals. They're going nuts because of these crazy demon goats. We got nothing to do with it. Just ignore the lights and the tractor going down there. Just this giant thing attached to the top of it. You know,
Yeah,
drive them all crazy.
that's insane. I've seen people play the many simulator games, whether it be the farming one or the truck one.
They're
but
good. They're fun. They're a lot of fun, especially if you play them in the dumbest way possible.
I think the one I saw people play too was the goat simulator one, which is just
Goat Sim.
crazy.
Yeah, they've done a remastery job on that not too long ago. I need to play it. I need to get onto it.
Yeah,
I haven't done it yet. The problem is, I know how I'm going to play it. I'm going to hop on and I'm going to role play as like a demon goat. That's what's going to happen. I don't know why, but demon goats are like a recurring thing. We always blame it on like deranged squirrels, demon goats, whatever. It's just the thing. Long story. It's any excuse for the craziness. We also have this recurring character called Gary the Chef because I accidentally torped myself with a battleship, but not a battleship. It was a destroyer, but technical difficulties. Anyway, I managed to sink my own ship basically.
Nice.
And I was like, it's Gary in the kitchen. He's the chef that we hired. He's a complete muppet. So yeah, that's become a bit of a thing. So if we say there's a HR incident and Gary's involved, that's why. But yeah, it's always Gary's fault, or a squirrel whispered in his ear something crazy or something. You know, we always some kind of wildlife that we need to destroy that you know did something to the farm or did something to the trucking company or did something in the chef game. I mean, it got so crazy. I mean, this is the thing. If I'm going to play a game, I'm going to do it stupid, right? Okay.
Right.
When I was playing Cooking Sim, okay, we had a soup kitchen. I started microwaving the soup, and we just said chef microwave made it. But we went a step further, right? We opened our own version of McDonald's, and what I did was I got builder buckets, pre-cooked everything, and served it for a week. So all I did was pull everything out of the builder bucket pre-cooked and then shoved it in the microwave for 60 seconds. I did okay scoring it, but you know what's even funnier, right? I was like, you know what? We'll chuck this in the deep fat fryer. I got a better score somehow. And I'm like, how? It's a week old. It's been microwaved 3 times and it's been chucked in the deep fat fryer. I'm like, okay, dude, like if you're going to eat it, I'm not guilty for the food poisoning. Not my problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just did that. We just started doing on industrial scale. It was like, right, fill the entire grill, you know. All the patties, all the eggs. I did kind of burn the buns, but that's a whole other side note. But you know what? At least they got their daily carbon allowance.
There you go.
And about 10 years in excess on top of that, but that's beside the point. I'm just putting the carbon back in them. It's fine. Taking it out of the environment, just burn all the buns. It'll come out and then poop and then they'll fertilize the fields or something. I don't know. But it's one way to deal with the problem. But yeah, we just had like the worst version of McDonald's imaginable going. We just like builder bucketing everything and deep frying it and reheating things. It just got stupid. I tried to make a cake in that game and I kid you not, right? I put 12 layers of cake in the oven. They came out liquid. I'm like, how? I put it in liquid. It came out liquid. I ended up resorting to cheating. I just got Betty Crocker mix effectively in the game. I just went, did all that. It came out all right. Then I had to stack the bastard things. I couldn't stick a skewer through it. So I'm there stacking this giant tower of cake, trying to hold it together. And I'm just like, right, what can we prop up against this insane cake so we can keep it going? We did it. It took a while, but we did it. Then we had to decorate it without knocking everything off. That was a whole other challenge in its own right. The thing is, this game's single player. The new one that's coming out is multiplayer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so me and the guys, I'm sure it's going to turn into utter carnage when we get like 8 people trying to build a cake all at once. It's going to get ridiculous.
Right.
But you know what? It's fun.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun with it. I mean,
Yeah,
why not?
At least I didn't deep fat fry the cake, okay? So there's that, all right?
No,
We
there's
refrain from that.
now there's an idea one should try.
Yeah.
Because I do know there's a lot of deep fried things you guys like. So
Scotland with Mars bars, especially. But yeah.
hey, we do here too. Down in the south, they'll deep fry a Snickers. All right, they'll deep fry a Snickers. They'll deep fry an Oreo.
Oh god,
Banana.
I don't get Oreos. I really don't.
What?
I don't like that. I don't like the taste of them. I know it's gonna upset a lot of people. Sorry, chat, but no, I don't get the obsession with Oreos. I really don't. They're too sickly to me. I don't know. I don't know if we just have really bad Oreos and you guys have the good ones or what. But like, I can't. I just it doesn't taste right to me, and I don't know why.
It's all the
I eat custard creams. I like things with cream in the middle of them, and do not take that out of context. 'Cause my guys will. Right off. I will eat that, but an Oreo, I can't. I don't know what it is.
Deep
I don't know if
fried,
it's
that's
like
right.
the chocolate they use or what, but it tastes.
deep fried
off.
Twinkies.
I don't
well,
get the Twinkies thing. I know they discontinued them, and you all went bananas for them, didn't they? And everybody started buying them up and going nuts. And then they brought them back, and they were like, "Surprise, we're not gone." I was like, "Great! So you guys have now got like 20 years worth of Twinkies in your shed. Congratulations! That's got cream in it. That's gonna go off."
Yeah. It's supposed to be broken away. Well, it's, you
Sorry,
guys,
this is such a random tangent.
it's such a well, I mean, you have more chemical issues over here with our food than you guys do with yours.
Yeah,
So
there's a
there's
lot
that.
of rules over here. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty uptight about stuff.
Yeah, so maybe that's one of the reasons why the Oreos taste so different to you is because the chemicals in it are
Possibly.
yeah.
One of my friends in the States said they're going to send over like a sweet care package over to me, and I can send them one. So maybe that'll give me a chance to try some that are like,
Yeah.
you know, well, I don't want to say normal, but you know what I mean, like the
Yeah.
authentic recipe, whatever you want to call it.
Now there are some things people can buy in store that are from the UK. You know, the digestives.
Oh, we love those. Yeah, they're
yeah.
so good.
I like
They're
the
so
one with
good.
I like the one with dark chocolate. That's the one I like.
Yeah.
Then of course there's the air bubble chocolate.
Oh, like Aero, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's also what is it? It's champagne gummies or something like that.
I don't know what those are. I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere though, so half the stuff they get in like London, Birmingham, and all that we don't get in where I live. The shops are so. This is the thing. I live in the middle of nowhere, right? People are talking about we get Nando's, we get this, that, other fancy restaurant. I'm like, dude, I got one Domino's, one locally owned kebab shop, and a McDonald's. That's it. That's it. That's pretty much it. There's not much else. There's like one fish and chip shop as well. There's a couple of things. Do you know what I mean? But people were talking about these fancy things. I mean, we had a Pizza Hut at one point. That's gone.
Oh.
You know, like so this is the thing. There ain't a great deal again because I'm in the ass end of nowhere, right? So and this is the thing as well. Good luck with getting delivery because again, I live in the middle of nowhere. Like there's so many country roads. Where I live is the hub for the area. So it's all villages. So unless some grandma decides to open up a McDonald's in her spare time, or whatever, you're coming to where I am to get stuff, you know? And it's like the selection here ain't that great anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'd like to order a Nando's, but you're in London. I'm like 5 hours away. Can you deliver? It's like, you'd be quicker to get a taxi, go get it, and then come back, honestly. Like, it really would. This is the thing. Okay, it depends on where you live, because this is the thing, right? The shops are really, really tiny, so the selection is restricted. But if I drive like an hour and a half from where I live, I can find a much bigger equivalent of the supermarket, and the range is like insanely much better. That's the thing. If I can get out of the area, out of the traffic and all the craziness, it pays to travel sometimes, especially if you want specific things. But I tell you what, it's getting better because I love gyoza and bao buns, for example, right? Okay. Love them. Obsessed. They're fantastic. You couldn't find them for love no money for years, okay? But now in the freezer section of a couple of supermarkets, you can get them. And I'm like, it's like, yes, thank you. I know these are the cheap, crappy frozen ones, but they'll do. I'll take them, all right? because unless you went to a specialty market or you lived in a big city or whatever, you weren't getting them. You just weren't getting them. They're even in like the meal deals now in some supermarkets, and I'm just like,
Right.
yes, I'm so glad I have that as a choice now, because it just wasn't. It just wasn't. And the nice thing as well is with things like Lidl and Aldi and that, where they're a bit more European, right?
Uh-huh.
The choices that came in when they came, right, was so good. The problem is when they first kind of arrived, a
Right.
lot of the stuff wasn't in English. Things I
Interesting.
speak German, so my mum would take me to the supermarket. She'd be like, "What does this mean?" So I'm sat there translating everything. I mean, they did change it all, but like really early on, there was a bunch of things where you just like you'd have to look at the pictures and figure it out because they hadn't like gotten there quite yet. And of course, my mum doesn't have a mobile phone,
Right.
so she can't Google it and figure it out.
Right.
So that was really funny. There's some really weird things like, I bought this, I don't know what it is. Oh.
That's understandable.
It's like
Yeah.
Russian roulette with food. It's like, is there any allergens in this? I don't know. Cook it and find out. That's great. Thanks.
Will it make my insides blow up?
Yeah. It's like, how spicy is this?
Too
But
spicy.
yeah.
But,
I love spice. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm getting too old. No, this is a really dumb thing, but I swear, like, I don't know how old you are exactly, but I'm in my 30s now, okay?
Right.
And 90s kid, born in 1990, right? But I'd eat all the spicy stuff as a kid. Tindaloo, Vindaloo, you know. The only thing I never tried was a fowl curry, okay? That was like the
Yeah.
only thing, because they just didn't do it, okay? Because you'd need NASA re-entry tiles for your toilet after you had one, allegedly, right? I never found out. I never tried it. I never had a problem. I never had a problem with curries, okay? I could have anything and I was fine, okay? But you give me slightly spicy pepperoni on a pizza now, I can't handle it anymore. I'm stuck on the toilet all night. And it's so frustrating because I love spice. I love spicy food, but my body's just like, no, you had way too much as a child. We're now going to even it all out. It's like a
Right.
bell curve that's like really biased on one end. It's like, right, so you're now going to have nothing for the rest of your existence. Congratulations.
Oh,
It's
goodness.
like, I like spicy things. So, yeah, so I have to have curries, but I have to have them extremely mild.
Oh,
So,
goodness. Well, anyway, it is. It is.
sorry, random tangent.
No, it's all right. It's the top of the hour, or as I like to call it, power hour time. And so what that means is that I set aside some time for us to promote ourselves, right? Because, you know, a lot of content creators do like the beginning or the end or sporadic throughout.
Yeah.
I do sort of like at the top of the hour because it's sort of like a timing thing, you know, take a small break and go from there. But I believe your link tree is down below. But if you would like, if you want to sell yourself, not in that way, the floor is yours.
Oh god, the thing is the guys would hear that and they'd be like, it's proof you're not innocent. They're terrible. I love the guys.
It's all true. It's all true.
Any excuse for that's what she said. They
That
keep
is what she
making
said.
they keep making OF jokes as well. I'm just like, we're not that kind of content, guys. Don't.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, like I say, you're gonna get. Oh, okay. Sorry, some stuff is collapsing over in my office. Fantastic. My brother's been moving stuff because of moving out, and yeah, half a dozen belts have just dropped around. Anyway, right, I'll deal with that later. Sorry,
Yeah.
just randomly stuff moving. Thing
It's
is,
a
it's like
ghost.
it's a belt, so it's like curly. So my
Yeah.
brain snake. It's just terrible. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, come join me for derping. We do weird stuff in video games. I tend to break things a lot. I'm currently playing Indiana Jones, but in the worst way imaginable. Play a lot of War Thunder, farming sim.
Nice.
A lot of simulation and management games, strategy games. I do have a brain. I occasionally use it. We like puzzle stuff, that kind of thing. But yeah, we tend to go a bit nuts. It's like, let's play this game, but do it in the weirdest, most unconventional method possible.
Right.
Break it, dig myself a giant hole, and then we'll dig ourselves out of it in the weirdest way possible as well. There is also things that keep happening, like Gary, the chef, getting blamed for everything, accidentally friendly firing,
Yeah.
blaming the workers in whatever said environment in any way possible, any excuse for HR incident, you know. face planting things when parkouring, the usual accident prone craziness. It sits somewhere, I think, between like if Frank Spencer from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em had a baby with Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
It's like that nonstop, pretty much. So we do silly stuff. I'm hoping to do some challenge stuff as well at some point.
Right.
But I think that's just gonna get massively out of hand.
Why
and
wouldn't it?
when I'm not destroying things, I'm giving my opinion on things.
Right.
So I'll just say it how it is. It's just like, yeah, this is crap. Don't buy it. I enjoyed this. It's cool. Grab it because XYZ. I like to get into game design stuff too. Sometimes we'll
Right.
like have a little yap about, oh, that puzzle was well designed because of such and such, or oh, this texture issue is probably happening because of X, Y, little weird nuggets like that. It's like when I was playing Alien Isolation, I was yapping about how the AI is designed, for example, because the guys found it silly things like that's like nuggets of things I've learned over the years. So yeah, we'll go off on weird tangents like that from time to time. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. You want to go yap about your stuff? Go for it. I want to hear more about you. Let's go. Yeah, weird stuff happens. Come join us if you want. Cheers.
There you go. And like I said, her link tree is down below on both Rumble and YouTube, so you guys can check her out on either end. And of course, for my thing, whether you're on the Rumble side or whether you're on the YouTube side, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or a follow, any or all of it is much appreciated because, again, not only does it help in being seen more, obviously that's what all content creators want, but it also helps in having more people on as guests, like Charede, like Divinity, like UV Legend, and so many other people I've had on. Because I didn't get to over 130 different guests just by whatever. So it's been an awesome ride. It's been an awesome ride. So any help with the engagement factor helps with all of that. And either Rumble or YouTube, it doesn't matter which one. And of course, I have a link down below as well. You can check that out. That's where all my stuff is at. You can X and all that stuff is in there. If you'd like to take up the opportunity to come on yourself, you can either leave a link on either Rumble or YouTube, or you can find that link and go from there. So any help with the engagement factor and checking out the link below, much appreciated to you all, because I'm so glad. Yeah, it was a rough time just counting down the days. KDC, are you getting it? Oh, he's asking, are you getting it? The KDC 2. Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I'm hoping to. I kind of want to get the first one done though, because I didn't get the opportunity to do a full on that one, sadly. Yeah, too distracted with pigeon brain issues. Yeah, I did. I saw somewhere that their script for the second one was a lot more than their first one. Yeah, it is a lot more. Yeah, the thing is, though, I hate to use this argument, but it's not always the size that matters. All right. Okay, you can have all the dialogue, but if it's garbage, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can see what they've come up with. It's like, oh, it's big, it's shiny. Again, insert joke here. But I mean, for example, Baldur's Gate had a huge amount of dialogue. It was absolutely nuts. But just because it's a lot doesn't mean it's good. Do you know what I mean? That's the one thing. I think it's impressive because there's an awful lot of effort involved in making something that grand and large in scope. Yeah. But not every company can do it or have the circumstances in which to do it. And you got to have the right people in the right jobs who really know the source material to be able to pull it off. And I'm hoping they will. But yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on the writing quality. Because this is the thing. I'd rather take something a bit more concentrated in scope, that's more focused, that's really good at what it is. Yeah. And something overly bloated. Yeah. That bores me to death. Right. BG3 just had that magic wombo combo and managed it, right? But not every game and every team can. So I got my fingers crossed that they will, but taking that as a sole metric of whether a game is good or not, you've got to like put a little pin in it a little and have some degree of caution. Obviously it's a bit of a marketing ploy too. Yeah. Look at how big and crazy this is. But yeah, as with everything, there are caveats. And that's why I'm like, I want to be positively, I want to be optimistic about it, but I'll see it when I believe it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, it's sort of like what happened with back in the day with Cyberpunk, right? All people were hyped for it. and then all of a sudden it got out there, and it was a bit of a wreck. They've upped
Yeah.
it now.
I've got it. I bought it on sale. I haven't played it yet. But
Mhm.
because of all the performance issues and everything at launch and all the other issues around it, it really put me off going in it, because I love the idea of it,
Mhm.
like the setting, the concept, blah, blah, blah. But I was just like, I know this game has got a lot of issues coming
Mhm.
into launch because of what I've heard and seen and blah, blah. I was like, I don't want to tarnish my experience of it.
Mhm.
Because although I'm sure that game's probably got a decent amount of replayability, for me, just by virtue of my situation with when and how I play games, etc., I'm not going to have a massive amount of time to do lots and lots of reruns.
Yeah.
So I want my first run and experience of it to be really, really good.
Mhm.
So quite often I will hang back on a game and I'll be like, right, I'm gonna wait a few weeks, or I'm gonna wait X percent. I'm quite good at avoiding spoilers for things, thank God. I mean, for example, I'm playing Mass Effect at the moment, and I've managed to avoid spoilers since that came out completely. I've managed to, bar one thing, I've completely avoided Spoilerville with that entirely. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Mhm.
But it's difficult in this day and age with social media to avoid spoilers with things. But
yeah.
yeah, I want that run of Cyberpunk to be really special and fun. And I just, with performance issues and everything, I was just like, I'm not touching it. I'm gonna wait. I'll wait till as I say, I've heard it's very good. I've heard it's been fixed and it's a lot better. But yeah, for me, I want to have that really special run with it.
Yeah.
So that's why I've held off on it. Grabbed it last year, and yeah, I've got to find some time for it. At the
Yeah.
moment, Indiana Jones is occupying my brain constantly.
Oh, yeah.
I've got nearly 30 hours in it, and I've still not finished it. I'm obsessed. It's so good. It is so good. I haven't seen the films. I'm going to watch the films now because of that. I like Lara Croft. I like all those kinds of adventure style. Like, I love that kind of stuff. So honestly, it's a good point. If you want to dip into Indiana Jones, dip into it on that game, because that's, from what I've seen. Well, I've played it, really enjoyed it, but from what I've seen, I haven't played the other games, you see. But
Right.
apparently, as far as Indiana Jones themed games go, it's definitely one of the better ones. So it's a good place to start. It also references one of the films very early on, so it gives you a good introduction to get you in, and it's very good at setting the timeline and framing everything really well, which I really appreciated as someone that's not as familiar with the content.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good place to inject yourself into it if you're wanting to get involved in exploring that. And I think a couple of the films are like on free on some of the streaming services as well. So I'm going to be watching the films as soon as I finish the game. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic experience, and it's got enough focus, but it's also got enough freedom. It's one of these weird games that's kind of not fully open world, but it's gives you some agency and control as the player. So though there is a very movie-esque story going on, and you are being funneled down, there is enough you can kind of go off and do your own thing for it. I haven't got to the ending, Blip. Don't spoil it for me. I haven't got there quite yet. I will get there, hopefully. What I can tell you though, Blip, and anybody else in chat, they have already greenlit more. They've greenlit another one, and it may be a trilogy.
Oh, wow.
Disney picked up the phone and they were like, "We're paying the bucks for this, apparently." So we're getting another one. They've already started working on it. I don't know any more than that, but it's been commissioned and they've started the work on it. So we're getting more, definitely. If the same studio does it, I'll be so happy. My understanding is that is the case, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But at least it's been greenlit. If they can keep to that kind of standard, I'll be really happy.
Yeah, that's always the trouble, though. The first one's great. The second one kind of mauls in the point.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to live up to it. It's tricky.
Yeah.
But I think if they use the same writers, I think they'll have a decent shot at it. And I think the styling of the game and the overall structure is really good. It's really sound. It makes for a good experience. As I say, it's very movie-esque, especially in the mid game, because the pacing just goes dun, 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 dun. It's really quick.
Yeah.
But it does good at setting things up at the start, which I really appreciated, because it was quick enough moving that you didn't get bored.
Yeah.
But it gave you the flavor, it gave you the vibe, it got you engaged in the character, whether you were familiar with them or not, very, very quickly. And it made it easy to, like I say, dig yourself into it. And there's so many little nuggets of information and extras that if you want to dive around and deviate into the little extras. There's lots of contextual stuff, and there's lots of like little documents and extras that, or even like the audio, just from like the guards and stuff yapping,
Yeah.
that helps like fill in some gaps. And if you're paying attention, there's like some really good stuff that you can pick up on as you're going along.
Mm.
And I really appreciate as well, they've done a very good use of the historical setting that it's in
Yeah.
as well. Because there was stuff as well. I was just playing along. I was like, yeah, that's like an actual thing that happened, or that's this, that, and the other. And it was like, great. So someone's done some research here.
Mhm.
You know, there's obviously some stuff they've taken a bit of artistic license with, but I think it's been done in a tasteful manner.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, okay, they're kind of like skewing this slightly to make it fit what's going on, but it's not
Yeah.
outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a good balance. They've got it in the right kind of zone, I feel, and
Yeah.
it's done really well as a result. I need to go back through and nitpick through all of it because
Mm.
there's tons of stuff I've missed, especially early on in the Vatican section, because I've, you know, mucking around being silly with that bit. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's a really, really fun experience. But yeah, I'm just hoping when we do get more of it, it'll be done to the same kind of standard, and also just the same kind of ethos to the game design approach, because I think it really works really well with that IP.
Mhm.
And that kind of layout, and it doesn't fall foul because it's a little more structured and restrictive. You
Mhm.
can see where the effort's been put, but also it doesn't fall foul of, I hate to use this Ubisoft example, but you know, the classic open world of nothingness that just goes
Right.
on and on and on and on, and it's like 3 bazillion collectibles just for the sake of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Assassin's Creed, all right? I like me a good sandbox where I can muck around, do whatever, okay?
Mhm.
I love that stuff, but sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yep.
like some devs really, really need to learn this, because you can create infinite void, okay?
Yeah.
But it's not adding value to the end consumer. You're just making it really hard for me to get anywhere. And it's
Yeah.
really frustrating. I would far rather have a more concentrated experience, you know? I mean,
Mm.
a good example as well of it done right. If you want to do open world, I mean, Skyrim is a good example. Okay,
Mm.
Bethesda quirks aside, right?
Right.
All the classic Bethesda issues. There is something going on. There are side quests. There are you can ignore 90% of it if you want to.
Mhm.
But there's villages, there's people living their lives, there's things going on, you know? And there's interesting interactions where you'll have like a quest that goes on in one place, you'll yoink off to another. Oh, and then Barry's talking about how he backstabbed Larry because so-and-so slept with his wife, blah, blah, you know. And I love that because then the dots all connect organically because you're exploring and doing your thing or whatever. Yes, there's emptiness and interesting environments. You can just kind of wander and waltz through and do blah, blah, blah if you want to. But you've got the fast travel. There's enough villages and things like pocketed around and
Mhm.
caves. Do you know what I mean? There's just not infinite copy paste void. There's not, oh, building 6 of village 3 20 times in a circle. You know, that stuff drives me nuts.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's especially careless. And again, I hate to use Ubisoft again because I am a Ubisoft partner. Sorry, Ubisoft, but I'm just honest, all right? And I'm allowed to speak my mind on it, and I'm going to, okay? But like, we saw what was going on with Shadows with some of the building placement. You've got a door that's like halfway up. Like, whose legs are climbing that? Do you know what I mean? It's not been placed with care and attention, and it
Right.
shows, and it's really frustrating.
Mhm.
And then there's like inaccuracy in the banners and other things. And I get, again, artistic license up to a point. Fine. Okay. But there are like really glaring issues where it's just like, grab these, copy paste, blah, blah, blah. And it just, I always use the ethos of if it doesn't add value to the end consumer or doesn't build something or make it interesting, what is the point of it being there?
Right.
Why bother?
Mhm.
You know? And if there's like so much infinite void that you're not filling, or you're filling it with why should I bother content, right? Why is it all stretched out that much? Because what you're doing is you're taking a gallon of paint, okay, and you're trying to paint it on an entire village. You're stretching it too thin. Scale it back a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think people would far have a little bit more crafted experience, right?
Right.
And things get diluted. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You look at the old Assassin's Creed. I mean, Black Flag's a good example where scope was increased, new things were tried, and it
Yeah.
worked really well.
Yeah.
But then, it's just like bloat. We need something bigger, better, number, and it's just like whoa, dial it down a bit, calm it down, more focus, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a little more focus is better, because as I say, then you get distracted. You're not focusing on the story. You're not building that world up. You're not, and as I say, you just end up with infinite bloat land. It's like, go climb this, go climb that. Okay, cool. I've done it 10 times now. I've had enough of that crap. Please
Right.
stop. I want to learn what's going on and feel like I'm an actual agent in what's going on and having some kind of impact.
Mhm.
You know, I want characters that I love. I want characters that I hate. I want characters that are this weird, muddy grey ground that make me think about what's going on, you know. And when you lose the focus on that, I think it really, really dilutes the series. And I think this is what we're seeing with Assassin's Creed, especially. And it's so frustrating. There's some good bits. There's good nuggets in there still. But they need to reel it back and really reapproach the design a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I still think the heart is there somewhere. It's gotten bogged down in 300 layers of mess. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And some of this obviously comes from higher up and marketing and other things, you know. But it's annoying. It's frustrating because what you get is a degraded gaming experience. You know, and this is why I'm saying, like, not every game dev should be aiming for like BG3 quantities of text, you know, and dialogue, right? I mean, recently I've been playing a game called Solasta for 3 years. Okay, that game is way smaller in scope. The Larian guys actually paid money to back them on Kickstarter, like way back in the day. That game is really small. It's fantastic though. So there is some bugs, don't get me wrong. There's some quirky issues with desync and stuff, but the story experience is really fun. The character narration's a little quirky and on budget, but there is a good, coherent, fun story there.
Right.
The classes work really well. I enjoyed exploring it. There was some interesting characters. There was some interesting plot developments. You had player agency. It was very classic kind of, you know, RPG experience. You know, tabletop kind of, you know, Neverwinter Night BG, that kind of stuff, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. But it was great. They've greenlit another one. I can't wait. I would rather take something that's more focused. I'm interested to see how they'll build on it with 2, because there's so many possibilities with it. But it just shows that you can have a good experience, work to a budget, and be a little more constrained. And sometimes you can actually still make something really good. You just got to be really tactical about how you go about it.
Yeah.
And another game I'm playing at the moment is called War Tales. And this one's a bit more like, some people love it, some people hate it. They're a bit of a Marmite kind of situation. I've run into a couple of bugs with the save system, which hopefully they'll fix. But that game, very lacking in overall direction in terms of the quest. You don't really have like this overarching thing. There is a quest that's kind of charging the core story, but you kind of just go off and wander and try and survive in the world with your little band of mercenaries, right? It's contextual stuff that's kind of going around that will kind of then guide you. It's more subtle, if that makes sense. There are like overarching region objectives and key decisions that then affect things,
right?
And you build on those, and then it triggers like a scenario event for the region. And that's when you start getting into more nitty-gritty stuff. It has a bit of a grind to get there, and I think that puts a lot of people off, unfortunately. If they're not willing to put the time in. Which is understandable. If you play on the high difficulties as well, you kind of get punished because the survival system really kicks your ass. But again, that's got a slightly different approach, again, with how it's doing the storytelling. But I think there is some value to be had there. I don't think it's as strong as Solasta, but I still think it makes for an interesting experience. It's a different take on it, if that makes sense. But again, it's a niche, smaller budget game.
Yeah.
But I still think they've tried to do something different with it, and I appreciate that. And it's done in a way where I can I can see where they're going with this. This is interesting. I'm not very far into that game, so I can't really comment too much on the plot because I haven't got far enough in. But the key setup bits that I can see the little mountain they're building with the context of what's going on in the world. And I really like that. It's definitely way more old school. I think that's the one thing that will put a lot of people off. If you haven't played things like Neverwinter Nights and stuff back in the day, you might find it a little bit more of a hard jump in because it's a little bit more classic in how it plays. But it's interesting. It's interesting, definitely. But again, this is why I think less bloat.
Yeah.
can sometimes be a good thing. I was like, there's so many games that just bloat themselves to crazy
Yep.
and stretch too far, and it's frustrating. As you know, having played plenty of games, I'm sure everybody in chat can talk of a game that's too bloated or missed the mark on something critical, and it just completely wrecked the experience. And one of my pet peeves with games, and I don't know how this is for you, but when a game changes the way it's scaled and the way the progression system is changed,
Right.
just so they can squeeze you for more money, that drives me nuts.
Sounds like microtransactions.
Yeah, but it's especially egregious when you're playing a story-driven game,
Right.
and then they power creep things like nuts, right? Just to, hey, come buy this, skip the blah blah blah. It's like, you're asking me to pay to not play your game. I bought the game with the intention to play it. Why are you charging me more money to not play it to make my life easier? Do you know what I mean? That tells me you made the game boring on purpose or did something that was imbalanced on purpose. Okay, so that was like one of the Deus Ex games. They changed the scaling at the last minute because of the shop.
Oh.
The Assassin's Creed games, for example, with Origins and that. Power up, have the resources, blah blah blah. Drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely potty. It does impact on the design though. This is one of the reasons I critique it when I do a review. If you have done something proactively to make the experience worse, when someone's paid for access to the product, that is 100% warranting of critique. Perspective on what is good value for money is very individualistic because it depends on your circumstances, the economy you exist in, and a whole ton of other stuff. But when financial decisions impact on what the consumer gets, whether that's misdirection of funds because of BS or putting something in intentionally to dial the numbers a specific way to make the experience worse, then yeah, that 100% warrants criticism as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Reviewers vary enormously on the stance on that, but personally, anything that impacts on the outcome should be criticized. And when it comes to multiplayer games, and I don't know how you feel on this, but if your community managers are yapping shit and intervening in things they shouldn't be, or impacting, like getting in game and doing something they shouldn't be, then yeah, that 100% warrants criticism. Again, in a single player, this shouldn't typically happen because they're not going to be invading your room. But if they do invade the space, or it affects the moderation, or updates, for example, I mean, a lot of live service games rely on changes, whether that be to balancing, new content, etc. If you're not communicating that effectively, whether that be in-game or anywhere else, like that warrants criticism because it's going to be impacting on the experience, because it's like accessibility of the information. What impact does the update have? Does it impact on things like player communication, their ability to interact, so on and so forth? And Helldivers is a good example of this. That game, for me, when it came out, could have been Game of the Year material, right?
Yeah.
But it's not ended up on my Game of the Year list. And the reason being is because, one, the PSN account craziness that went on. Okay.
Yep.
Now, in all fairness, a lot of that is Sony. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Pushing all that. We know what they're all up to. It's all there.
Yeah.
But the Steam store page puts it in the right-hand side, halfway down the page. Now, there is a little yellow box at the top that exists, but it was not in that yellow box originally, as far as I can tell. It should have been there. As far as I'm concerned, it should have been right at the top because it's a requirement as far as I'm concerned. So that was frustrating. But as far as I'm aware, the thing was there, it was just turned off, blah, blah, blah. We all know what was going on with that, right?
Right.
But you've then got issues around how balancing was done and how certain weapons were made relevant, irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. I do think Arrowhead's attitude towards we'll earn the right to your money by giving you... That's fantastic. Cool. Love that approach. That's perfect. I think they went into that with the right head. They had the head screwed on with that. And you had the free option to grind the currency. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. I love all that. That's fantastic. The moderation on their Discord was an absolute shit show. Which really was disappointing.
Right.
Let's just be honest, right? In a game that's multiplayer and people want to discuss stuff, that was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then, obviously we've got the issue as well, again, as far as I'm aware, Sony were managing the store page, and it was being sold in regions that they were proactively going to lock the game out of because of the PSN requirement. Why are you selling it in those regions in the first place? I know that the lock isn't there from day one, but you shouldn't sell that product if you're knowingly going to lock it to those regions. Also, you need to bear in mind as well, the region availability of PSN, okay, is based on website and console access. There are some regions where you cannot register an account without the console.
Jeez.
Because the website's inaccessible. So their list of like web places that are accessible to PSN isn't technically, allegedly correct. Because if you are stuffed in one of those places where you can't physically get the hardware, because they don't ship it there, and the website, you can't necessarily get it. That's the problem, right? So you as a PC player could go buy it, and they're like, oh, well, you can't get on the website, so you're gonna have to get the console. But it's like, but I can't get the console because they won't ship it here. So like, what do you do? Like, so the list is a bit skewed and messy, to say the least. Because as I say, in some places you can't, and it's like, yeah, so somebody's gonna fork out for a console just so they can play the game on PC because they can't access the website because their country doesn't allow the website. But and there are some, yeah, it's just bonkers. There's a list of countries that are affected by that. It sucks so bad.
I remember. Yeah, because I remember when that happened with the Helldivers.
There's people that have covered it in more detail and a bit more coherent and it can explain it better. But yeah, it just means that there are a ton of places that are listed as can get access that can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but there's this caveat for a bunch that isn't really discussed. And that makes it really annoying. And then you've got like single player games like God of War and The Last of Us, and they want to like lock it to PS. I'm like, I'm like, please don't leave my single player games alone. I mean, sometimes some of these games do have a multiplayer component or whatever. I can understand the moderation stuff to a certain extent, but also I'm like, Steam has its own moderation system stuff and a pipeline for this stuff. Use it. Like if you want to get people to sign up, let's be real, because this is all about sign-ups. They want shareholders happy. They want more accounts. Cool. Fine. I can understand the business of that. Give people an incentive to sign up and a reason to. The thing is, a lot of people don't want a data breach or whatever to happen. Okay. Yeah. It's understandable. Like that stuff's incredibly frustrating and annoying. But yeah, like if you want people to get over that hurdle, you need to give them some assurances about like protecting their data, but you also need to be like, hey, here's some freebies or some recurring like status or something that you can have where you get extra freebies. Also, just to make it worth their time for that little bit of inconvenience. I know it's pathetic because it's effectively a free step, but it does mean handing over your email and a couple of other little things. And you need to say thank you back. You got to give something in return. It's an ask, right? It's a requirement. It's an ask, and it becomes more frustrating when that ask isn't clear or easily spotted. Because again, if things aren't at the top of the page, people don't notice, right? Yeah. And some of that is on the consumer. When you buy something, you should read the whole product thing. But let's be real, who does? It's like when you sign up for a game. Who reads the EULA? I mean, I sit and do for a variety of reasons, specifically around content normally, because some people sneak stuff into the EULAs for that. Yeah. But we won't go into that one. But the average Joe, okay, is not going to sit there and go 300 pages later, right? Let's just be real. Yeah. So it needs to be really clear. And yeah, things get missed, things get, but you got to have procedures in place for things. And it's just frustrating. Yeah, I get why people are so upset. But for me, really more than anything else, the store page layout is one grievance. But yeah, the balancing and just the balancing really screwed it in a big way. And then, like I say, the region issue, you nuked so much of the player base doing that. Yep. Just you shouldn't have sold it in those places in the first place. Yeah. Look, we're going to implement this. It's going in on this date. And we're not selling it for those regions. If you want to buy it for that region, buy a physical copy off this store, blah, blah, and we'll ship to all those countries. If they can do that, maybe there's some legal reason they can't. Fine. But in that case, just don't sell it to those regions. Well, I mean, for example, I go on Shops, right? There's a company I partner with. And on the right-hand panel, they list all the countries. It will check where you are, if you allow it to. And it will just go, yep, tick. You can buy this for your region and it's okay. Or it'll be like, no, you can see the store page, but no, don't buy it. It's not going to work. But it tells you. Yeah. Like if you're going to lock something off, don't sell it there. It's not difficult. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If this was a sudden change of plan last minute,
yeah,
different story, but you've still got to make it right with the customer. But this was obviously premeditated
mm-hmm.
based on developer, publisher, blah, blah, blah. So I don't see an excuse for a valid reason, do you know what I mean, to be selling it and unlocking the store page for those regions. There just isn't one, which makes
Yeah.
it really insidious. Because you've
Yeah.
got all these people that have signed up for an account
Mm.
that are playing, you know, on the console, whatever else. And then you've got these people on PC that buy it, want to play it with their friends, can
Mm.
gloss over this fact, the store page, or whatever else. And then it causes all this carnage and chaos because you've got all these groups of people that have been playing, and then suddenly like half the mates can't play. Well, now you've got several people that play in those groups that can't get a full group with the people they wanted to play. They're going to move on and do something else. Do you know what I mean? They're going to want to refund. They're going to want out because it's changed their experience because the group dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
The access dynamics have changed. So you've got existing players that can play that will be upset on top of the people who physically can't access it. It's like, what do you do? So sorry, ramble. It's a whole complicated mess. But
it's no different than what Ubisoft would do, because Ubisoft did the same thing where you'd have to make an account for certain games in order to play them, which is ridiculous because it makes no sense to you unless, you know, like you were saying, there's some insidious matter behind it. Because when that thing happened with Helldivers, people were up in arms, and then they forget that there's more that they still have to sign up account for.
It's frustration when you've got a launcher for a launcher for a launcher for a launcher. It's just so annoying. I mean, I can get it with some things, you know. It's nice to have stuff. And the other thing as well is, right, heaven forbid, let's say Steam disappeared, right, and everybody lost their libraries, right? Yeah. It's nice to have stuff in multiple places because then you can get access to things. This is why I liked having disc copies of things. You know, I mean, I've got another copy of a couple of games on Steam because I got them on the cheap because they were remastered or redone. I still have the disc copies for them, and I will make them work one way or another, because I love playing them. But you know, it sucks if you get, because this is the thing, right? That some of these companies will have their niche little side launcher or whatever, bring you into it. But if they just turn around and go, nah, screw it, we're not doing that anymore. Goodbye to all your games, because they're not obligated to give them to you. Because again, as has been pointed out in interviews with certain publishers, you don't own your games. You are just licensed to have access for as long as we're willing to give it to you. You're paying the price of admission to effectively license the access. You don't own it. Yeah. There's nothing physical you own. So they can just go yoink whenever they feel like it. And it's really frustrating because this is the thing as well with like video game preservation. There's so many good games that I want to show friends, or like even my partner's kids, I'd love to show them. But I can't because they've just disappeared from existence and they don't exist anywhere. And then you get stuck in this thing of, do you do the naughty thing and pirate it? Do you go on a dodgy website and risk your computer? And God knows what it's been payloaded with potentially. And then also you've got compatibility issues and all the rest of it, which is why I sometimes quite like a remaster, because at least if they've done a remaster well, you can zhuzh it up. You can make it more compatible, bring up the resolutions, blah, blah, blah. I mean, a good example of this recently, Age of Mythology, right? They've done the remastered version. There's the retold one that's out. The one tiny pain in the butt thing I'm annoyed at with that is they took all the old portrait styles and they, DLC, please, you need to pay for these. If I'm buying the original game in a remaster, I expect all the original content. I'm just saying. Now, they could have done the expansions separate, and I would have accepted that because those were separate paid products back in the day. Right. So fine, tack them on as add-ons, but at a reduced price. Fine. Right. But removing the original art. Now, I have to say to their credit, though, the updated art is actually quite good. I quite like it. That's good. And the music has been done really well and everything. So, you know, fair play to them. They've done an overall good job with it. They shouldn't have squeezed that bit. I would have restructured the way that was done. Right. And there's updates for the game coming and there's extra good content. So good, excellent. They've got a pipeline of stuff that's coming that will freshen it up and bring something for the old school guys, which I really appreciate because I want more. I want a sequel to that. I really, really want that done properly. I think that could do really well. Right. But yeah, bringing it up to date and also reintroducing it to new audiences. It's an old game, but it's so fun. And I know some people prefer Age of Empires. There's a big camp of people who prefer that. But as a mythology nut, I really loved Age of Mythology. I probably still played Age of Empires more because the amount of content in that was insane.
Right.
But it's nice to relive and go through the experience. And I got the original collector's edition when I was a little kid, and I had to go to the shop and go buy it. Blah, blah. I never got the Titans expansion. With the new one, I have that now, and I can play that, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice.
So that's fantastic. But I wouldn't have objected of opting into that.
Yeah.
But I do object and get annoyed about them removing the original art portraits.
Yeah.
As I say, I'm here for the authentic experience as the older player. So, and as someone coming into it new, I think they should have the choice. Do they want it revamped and adjusted, or do they want to live the nostalgia through a modern lens? You know, do they want to see, you know, I mean, there's lots of old games like it's like Theme Hospital, Predatorians. There's a load of good stuff that have got like a little Steam mini release or a remaster or whatever. But I think it's important it exists. It's really important because there's so many good. I mean, Neverwinter Nights is a good example, right? Because the licensing, the second one's on the Steam store. You can get it on GOG, but you can't get it on Steam anymore. I love Neverwinter Nights. So good, so much fun. There was so many hours I spent in that game. And you know, again, there are people being brought into Dungeons and Dragons, and they don't get to experience it. And I'm like, you've got to go see it. You know, it's so good. It's really old school and it's a bit clunky by modern standards and how it plays. Yeah. That's a bit of a mentality thing you have to get over because it's a very different design approach back in the day. You know, we have phases, things change, right? There's a very specific way these things were constructed back then and stylized and done. But it's important. I think it's cool. And you can kind of see, like, if you played BG3 and then went and played Neverwinter, you could see the differences, but you can also see the similarities and make the connection and the crossover and engage in the material in a different way. And even like the old Baldur's Gate games, I never got to play those, but I'm going to play them one way or another. And, you know, there's going to be a ton of people that play BG3 that are going to be like, this is cool. I like this character. Can I learn more about them? Oh, they were in the original game. Yeah, sure. Go play it. And I want them to be able to do that. I think it's really important because you want to be able to connect the dots and get in there. Yeah. And the same, I think, applies. You know, Warhammer's another good example. There's so many Warhammer games. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Right. There's a lot of variety in that one. But, you know, like Dawn of War. I love that as a kid. I still have it. I can't wait to show it, you know, to the kids. But there's going to be people that just don't know it exists, can't find it, you know, you know, and then there's all these other things. And I'm just like, you know, what are we going to lose in 20, 30 years time? You know, what's going on now that we're going to lose? Especially in an age where it's almost entirely digital now. Physical sales don't account for a massive amount. There is so much that will just disappear from the ether. And another thing that comes with a lot of these games, especially multiplayer or where you can hot seat together, if there's some kind of authentication server involved or something, and they just turn that off, you're fecked. You can't play it. I was trying to play Rainbow Six with a friend of mine. I played Vegas and all those other ones as a kid. And I bought it with the intent of playing multiplayer. It was listed as having multiplayer. And when I went to play it with my friend, the multiplayer does not work. They shut the servers off for it. So it was sold off of my old experience and what I knew of the game. And as I say, from what I remember, it had multiplayer still listed. But because the servers I can't use that function. Why? I wish they would go in and just put a little over it. Now I know financially it doesn't make any sense because they're not making any money off it anymore. So I wish there was some kind of legal caveat for preservation reasons that you can't redistribute the game for money, but if you want to play it with your mate and they're not commercially selling it anymore for a period of, let's say, 5 or 10 years, then duck it. Go play it with your mate. Here's a thing to unlock and make it possible. But if you duck around with it in a way that would take away from them selling it. If you're not playing it for like preservation or your own personal entertainment, then yeah, fine. They can come in and, you know, get narky about it. Okay, cool. But there needs to be some kind of middle ground here because there is so much quality entertainment we're losing and interesting experiences. And the other thing as well is you think about game developers in many, many years' time. I think it's important for game devs to look at old games and play them. I mean, there are certain fundamental games that change game design in such monumental ways. Yeah. The original Tomb Raider games with how you lined up and moved. the old school like GoldenEye.
Mhm.
You know, like that literally changed the way we looked at shooter games.
Right.
If you can't, I mean, yes, you can look at video of it. Yes, you can read about it in the books.
Yeah.
But get in there and experience it.
Yeah.
That's what I think is important. You need to fundamentally go in there and see it and try it and play it, because then you understand where things have come from and where they're going.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something more retro, then you've got a better understanding of how it feels,
Mhm.
you know, in your hands doing it,
Mhm.
rather than observing. Sometimes you need to get in there and actually give it a go yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, I think some of this is kind of being lost in translation a little bit. As I say, you can do the theory, but it's nice to actually get in there and do it and experience it. And you know, I mean, this is one of the reasons I've got an old school TV, because I like playing my Sega Mega Drive. You know, because I want it in the authentic kind of experience. And I'm not saying people are going to go that bananas with it, okay? But I loved Streets of Rage as a kid.
Right.
And there was a lot of skill I learned by playing that. And my God, I beat my head on a wall on that one because it kicked my ass so many times. But I loved it. And there was a lot I learned about how it was designed and orchestrated. And, you know, and you can see where subsequent games have kind of cherry picked little bits of that and used it as inspiration,
Mhm.
you know? And it makes it, I think it could potentially, you know, if more people dug into the past. I mean, it's like one of those things, right? If you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
Right.
So learn from the mistakes of the really bad screw up games, and also learn from the really good ones that innovated and did something interesting that was a good twist on something, whether that be narrative, design, level structure, whatever. I think it could be a really useful material for really pushing the envelope with something new.
Well,
It's a missed opportunity, and
Right.
lack of game preservation is really screwing that
Well,
in
I don't
really, really big ways.
I don't think you have many people making another ET like game again. So I think some people have learned so far.
You want to know the crazy thing, though, right? Right.
Yeah.
We look at the classic ET, massive, everything. Well, not all of it recalled. I can't remember what the numbers are. I've got all the numbers somewhere. I'm going to be doing a video on this. ET credited as nearly tanking the entire industry, right?
Mm.
Okay. You look at some of the shite releases we got in 2024. Okay. Concord, Dustborn, you know, some of this other stuff, right?
Right.
I've done the math commercially. When you account for inflation or not, ET was actually commercially more of a success than those games, even though it nearly destroyed the entire industry. I'm not joking. I've done the math. There's a video. I'm putting it all in the board. I'm going to figure it all out. But yeah, commercially, that ET was more of a success.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. More copies were kept.
You know,
And actually they made more money on ET than they did some of these games we got in 2024 that flopped really hard. And then you compare the budgeting as well, because I managed to locate rough figures for the ET licensing deal as well for
yeah.
that game, and even when you account for that, they still made more money. And it's just like, holy balls.
Yeah.
I need to pinpoint this all out and structure it. It's a video I'm working on, but yeah, it's crazy when you look at the figures. Like I say, a game that is credited with nearly tanking the whole industry commercially was more viable.
Then
I mean,
PS
there's an argument to be made for those 2024 games having a bit more merit to them in terms of structure, but when you bear in mind how little time the dude had that was making that ET game, I was like, no wonder he was set up for failure from day one with that mess. He really was. It was awful situation. I feel so bad for him being put under all that stress and strain. You got to get this game out. And it's got to be in for, you know. And we see this all the time in the industry anyway with crunch, right?
Yep.
Crunch was a terrible practice, horrific.
Yep.
I understand, you know, I'm passionate about this. I want to put the hours in and make this good for release day. But I think a lot of extra pressure comes about with crunch because devs are not just given enough time to cook, especially when there's like release dates. The amount of money that goes into marketing in this industry is nuts. Don't get me wrong, it's cool. You need to get the word out. You want to make it look slick and all the rest of it. But I think sometimes they just need to cool off a little bit, you know, let it cook longer, be realistic, you know, look, this ain't done. We need to, but I know there's like release windows at Christmas, especially things like that, right? And you got to get it out. This is movie. Sometimes contracts come into it too. If a movie's coming out and you want to tie it in with a game,
yep,
you got no choice. You got to pump it out the door no matter what state it's in, and it's tough bananas. You know, you got to just deal with it.
Yep.
But I think like publishers, they need to be far more realistic, especially with the complexity of what's being put in. And
Right.
again, not having things so bloated would help for a start. You know, I've got 60 bazillion miles of countryside. It's got one tiger in it. Fantastic. Okay, great. That's going to make for a good experience. Excellent. I'll find Bob the tiger. It'll take me 3 years. Cool. And then I'll eventually get my quest. You know, and then you find out it's a poop quest or something. And you're just like, oh, here we go again. You know, but but it's like, yeah, that's gonna score bad. What did you expect? And people are just mad by the time they get there. The Bob the tiger's dead in 99% of runs. I wonder why. You know, yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? I think, like I say, there's this project bloat expectation. There's crunch and unrealistic work conditions and times. And I'm not saying every company does this. It varies enormously, okay? But I do think people need to get back to reality and get a bit more grounded with project scale, timings, and all the rest of it. I'd almost rather, again, you can't really sit on something for a couple of years and do nothing with it because tech moves on, blah, blah, blah. Trends also come and go, right? I mean, you look at how many battle royales we've had, my God. Just as one example, right?
Yeah.
But I do think sometimes you just have to say, look, it's got to cook for another 2-3 months, another 6 months, or whatever. You know, just go for one of the other big release windows.
Yeah.
If you haven't got some contractual tie-in, it's so worth it because sometimes you're talking like the difference between like a middling score and getting up into the 70s, 80s, whatever. I mean, the industry standard is you really want to be above a 7 out of 10. If you fail to get a 7 out of 10, you know, it's much harder to push a game. But yeah, like it's almost lighting money on fire. They kind of are doing that sometimes. They just kind of want to grab the execs and be like, chill, please. Let them cook for a bit longer, please. Because there are some games where they've come out on release and I've just facepalmed so hard because there's like 1 or 2 really fundamental problems. But they had a few more months patched it and I'm like, this is a whole other world.
Yeah.
The problem is once you sell something to a consumer and they've had a crap experience with it, getting that consumer to return and reconsider it is a much bigger hurdle. And if they really got infuriated, they would have left a review. And this is the thing as well. When people are mad and negative about something, they are way more likely to leave feedback out of frustration as a way to get back at it. People will leave positive stuff when they're happy, fine. But negative emotions are more provocative to humans. And this is why when you look at headlines on news stations, etc., you always see those really big negative headlines. And that's because they grab your attention more. They generate clicks and they suck you in. We do take note of negativity far more than positivity. And it's a survival mechanism. There's a lot of survival grounds in this because if dirty, great big saber cat eat your friend, you're not going to go near the saber cat. You know, you're going to be like, that's nasty and it will kill me. I'm going to stay away from that thing. I'm going to go eat this. And then, oh, herb kills my friend. I'm not touching that one and walk away from that one. You know, it's intrinsic. It's a survival mechanism. You know, you don't want to go near the bad thing. It might hurt you. So, you know, we have this aversion to negative things, whether that be something that's directly negative to us or it's something that's happened to someone in our proximity. And the closer in proximity it is either directly to you or around you, the greater influence it will have on you. So, so if you see this headline in your local area for something nuts that happened, you're like, oh, gosh, you know. So, yeah, there's this negativity loop. And the thing is, in this day and age as well, when with algorithms and how things are fed to you, you start going down that rabbit hole and you just get fed more and more and more of it. You just keep seeing bam, boom, boom, and it reinforces certain ideas. And this happens with video game recommendations as well. Because if you're seeing a negative review for this one game, other ones are going to pop up and reinforce that. And this could go on for months, right? So you're not going to revisit it, even though it's been patched to a decent level and is actually an enjoyable experience. Like I say, something fundamental has been changed or some feedback was taken on board. And I love it when developers do take the feedback and really go, yeah, what went wrong here? And I think a good example of this is No Man's Sky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play it. And I objected to playing it when it came out because I was really mad at it. I was really, really mad because of a load of the stuff that was stated that just wasn't accurate as far as I could tell. Now, I don't think, in my opinion, he was someone that went out of his way to make a game that was bad and to make it sound more than it was. I hate to say it, I think he fell into the Peter Molyneux trap a little,
Right.
bigging it up too much. And the thing is, when money gets involved from elsewhere, the marketing wheels spin, and I think he just got, in my opinion, I think from what I've seen, he just got wrapped up in that, and it just escalated and escalated, and then you can't deliver on it past a certain point. You've only got so many skills, you've only got so much people, you've only got so much time. And the marketing wheel was fantastic. It did wonders for that game. But when the expectation is so high, and then what you release is, you're gonna really, because you've just set the bar bonkers, right?
Yep.
So people are going to be mad, understandably, right? You need to be somewhat realistic. And there's sometimes as well where I feel like, although it's nice to run away with your marketing, make it sort of cool, I think you do need to kind of temper expectations sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's a healthy thing to do just in life in general, because otherwise you end up extremely upset, disappointed. I mean, I would rather things excel. I'd rather you set a sensible baseline and be honest, and then exceed it. Because I would rather be that customer that gets that, wow, that really blew my socks off, than, holy crap, you lied to me, I hate this, with a passion. Because when I get that, I'm completely disengaged, and I don't want to, do you know what I mean? It's really hard then to re-engage. And this is where, when people refund or leave a game, it's hard to get them back in. And this is something that Helldivers is going to have a problem with, because of all the other crap that's gone in the background. Okay. So it's going to be really hard for them to re-engage a lot of those users, which is why the numbers, they're still doing amazing, do not get me wrong, but you can see why the expectation was so high. People had an amazing experience, and then everything just kept knocking it down a peg with all these problems, right? Plus the fact everybody's locked out as well, and you just end up really annoying everyone. And No Man's Sky did this, right, when it came out. Okay. But they ran away for a bit. I can understand the pressure must have been insane, right? But they got their shoes back on, they pulled themselves up, and they've chipped away at it again and again and again and again. And the amount of time investment to do that, and the financial investment, and also the acknowledgement, effectively, you screwed up and you've got to change this to make it right for the consumer, is a big deal. Because a lot will just go, nope, ostrich head in sand, and they'll just walk away from it. Next project, let's just pretend that didn't happen, right? Obviously, patches happen. We live in a day and age where patches are just a thing. Day one patch is just a thing. I can understand, little things, but when you've got really fundamental problems, that's a really big deal. Again, let it cook, right? And also be realistic about the release expectations. But yeah, credit to them. They came back kicking and screaming, and they got in there and dug in the trenches, and they put the work in. I want to play that game, and I'm looking forward to it. I have seen a lot of material about it. It does look so much better though. And I mean, where's it sat right now on Steam? Let me have a look. But as far as I'm aware, it's really positively received now. It's really hard to take a game that is so irked everyone and turn it into actually, people really want to get on board with this. People want to buy this now. It's a very positive. There we go. It's 250,000 reviews, and it's about 3K reviews in the last 30 days. So it's still going. It's got legs, but it's hard to do that. Once you dig yourself a hole, that negativity, it can get so ingrained. And I can only imagine how demoralizing that is from the studio's point of view. You've worked your heart and soul on it. You think you've made something great, and then it just gets trashed and panned. It must be devastating. And I feel for people, that happens. But I really respect the people that dig in and get on with it and fix it, because that takes some heart and soul and some serious self-reflection on an individual and a group level as well. And it's not always possible, unfortunately, because you get decisions made at certain points on the chain that mean you cannot make the change. And that could be so frustrating, because you're stuck there with your hands handcuffed and you can't do anything. And sometimes you know what needs to be done, but you can't do it. And that is just levels of frustration I would never want to deal with.
Understandable.
But as I say, kudos to them for sticking in and do it. That is a case study in how to turn something around. But it's so hard to do. As I say, I'd rather things cook for longer and not get that negativity loop going in the first place. And that's the problem. A lot of things are dead on arrival.
And
it's
VOA.
Yeah, yeah, and it sucks because it's like there are things where I can see a glimmer of hope or a glimmer of promise or a good concept that's bogged down in something dumb
Mhm.
or a couple of like key mechanics that are just boring and pointless or narrative is a really common one at the moment. Piss poor narrative design. I'm really sorry, it's one of my pet peeves. Like
Right.
really glaring gaps in stories or complete disrespect for original canon for
Mm.
previous games. It makes it very hard for someone to then engage and get into it. And I think so many games right now are fundamentally flawed in their narrative design.
Right.
The way that characters are developed, the ways sometimes showing, not telling is
Yeah.
better. That has been lost. And you see this in movies as well. There's
Yep.
so much like beating you in your face
Yeah.
about certain things. And I'm like,
Slapping the
what
face.
happened here? Because something's fundamentally gone wrong here.
Yeah.
And some of it I think is people not put in the right places. I think some of it training. I mean, the other thing as well is I'm seeing people put on projects, especially like in films, and I'm like, this person came out of nowhere, and I'm like, cool. If you've got something that shows you've got something special to offer, the problem is when you then suddenly get someone who's gone from like a really niche project to something with a massive budget, that leap can really. The structure's so different in how it operates.
Mhm.
How can you manage that and try and do your key bit? That is a really tricky thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think again we see this in studios when a studio has a wild, outlandish success, right?
Mhm.
And they've just come out of nowhere. That adapting and growing
Mhm.
to, especially when the team becomes a lot bigger, is tough. It's
Yeah.
really tough to adapt to that because the dynamics, the social dynamics, and the structure of how you go about your work changes really dramatically when you change the size of a team and you've got these little extra sub departments and all the rest of it. And again, chain of command. If you haven't got a really healthy chain of command, that can be so detrimental in the monetization, especially, but things like the structure, what's being prioritized as well. Because I've seen so many games as well where visually, chef's kiss, right?
Yeah.
But there's no substance whatsoever. And it's just like, come on, I need something to hook me, you know? And you're just like, please give me anything, something. And you're just like, oh my God, it's a 4-hour snooze fest. I've done nothing here. And it's like, it's like, I really want to say something positive about this game other than it looks pretty. And I can't, I just can't. I just have to say, I'm sorry. It looks nice. You might as well be a painting. I just don't give me a still of this. I'll look at it for half an hour, but then like I'm done. Drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. You got to bring it together. You got to make it happen. It's hard. It's hard because you're gelling several different worlds effectively. Between the artistic element, the narrative, gameplay mechanic. You've got to get these all to gel and mold, and it's way more complicated than people realize.
Yeah, indeed it is. Yeah, but anyway, it is the top of the hour again.
Sorry, I'm just. I love
You're
games.
fine. You're
Sorry,
fine.
I spend way too much time in this world with games. I
You're,
love it.
No, it shows you how passionate you are about. But anyway, it is the top of the hour again. So like before, and we'll probably end it here because I've got to eat. So
Yeah, cool. I don't want you starving and turning into a skeleton.
No. But anyway, why don't you go ahead and promote your side of things, and I'll get my side, and then we'll kind of go to the next few things that are left.
First of all, talk way too much, as you've probably guessed.
You're fine. You're
love
fine.
games. Yeah, I derp a lot. I break things. I am prolific breaker of games, as you may guess. Lots of simulation, lots of strategy. Yeah. We get stuck in the trenches of the games. We go nuts with it. But if you want to derp, if you want to laugh, and you want some multiplayer craziness, drop on by because we do a lot of that. So more the merrier.
Yeah.
We love the chaos.
That's right. And her link is down below on both Rumble and YouTube. So if you want to check out her where her stuff is at, because she's at a bunch of different places. So always one or the other. But yeah, her link is down below. So give that a look. And of course, for my end of things, right? Because I can't just I don't want to just walk away without me saying anything.
I was like, please dig in. I will just listen.
No, otherwise people would be like, "What? He didn't even say anything. He just walked away. What's going on here?" No, whether you're on the Rumble side, whether you're on the YouTube side, doesn't matter which one you're on. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a follow or a comment, any or all of it is much appreciated because again, not only does it help in being seen more, like all content creators, but it also helps in having other people on as guests, like Charede here, like Adam Gray in the chat, and like so many others. So if you want to help with that, helping with the engagement is the best place to do that. I much appreciate it for that. And of course, if you want to see where else I'm at, there's a link down below in either Rumble or YouTube. You go down there and check where else my stuff is at. And if you'd like to take up the opportunity yourself to come on, guess what? You can either leave a comment on either Rumble or YouTube, or go to that link below, and you can find me at those places. Oops. Well, how about that?
There we go.
I took too long and it said no.
But
But yes.
Yeah, computers no.
But yes, if you want to find me where else, Matt, either go to link below and all that stuff. So any help with engagement and that link below, much appreciated. Of course, the next thing we do is tomorrow at 7 p.m. I will have on the lovely Barbara, who is co-part of B-roll stage, the B-roll stage group. And so they do like old movies and commentary on old movies, like public domain old movies. So there's that. So hopefully you'll join me and welcome her on at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And of course, the last thing we do on my show before we end is called Questions. Oh, yep, you gotta just refresh it. Yeah, just refresh. There you go. Look, she's back. It's a
Sorry.
miracle.
Connected randomly. I don't know what happened there.
It happened to me too. Don't worry. The last thing we do is called Questions from a Hat. I got a hat from Mumble. I put some questions in it. So what happens is, oops, I gotta turn off the texting. There we go. Almost didn't do that. So what happens is that let's see. What happens is that my guest, you get 2 freebie questions, and if people in the chat would like to have some more than the 2, they got to pay for it. So I'm not monetizing YouTube, so fortunately that's the case. But I am on Rumble, so if you'd like to, there you go. The Adam Gray is part of B-roll, so there you go for that. But if you're on Rumble and you would like to have another question pulled out of that, guess what? You have the opportunity of sending a rant, whatever the amount, doesn't matter. But other than that, it seems like 2 so far. So let me pull one of that. I'm not looking. I'm just feeling with my hand like those things with spaghetti. You're just feeling your hand in there, pulling out whatever. Let's
It's like
see.
those shows where they get like spiders and snakes and he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna get?"
Ugh, I don't want to do that. All right, here's the first one. And the first one is, what sound/noise do you hate?
Oh. Well, the chalkboard thing, definitely. I hate that screechy. I don't know, it's so cliche, but yeah, I hate that. I absolutely despise that. The other thing I hate, bees, because it's like, where is it? It's like the panic. Yeah, the panic sets in. You're just like, where on earth is it? Stand still, but I need to look and find it. Yeah, I hate that. That's just like, ugh. I hate that. Absolutely hate that.
Now we know what to dress up as for Halloween.
Oh no, I get chased down the street by a bunch of people dressed as bees. Fantastic.
We just want to spread our honey for you. Here's our pollen.
That's
Yeah,
like
that's how
a
you do
hot
it.
fuzz thing just down the supermarket.
No,
That's
guys,
a honey marketing campaign in that somewhere. They should do that. Just not
If you-
to me.
if you too want to scare older ladies and make them feel so afraid of life, dress up as a bumblebee today.
Oh gosh.
And people are like, hey, I didn't know you didn't like bumblebees.
I'll just tell them to behave.
Oh, behave.
That's terrible. Sorry.
You can tell them to be humble or get smacked.
I'm gonna tell them to buzz off.
Buzz off, hey. I wonder how many more we can do. Hey, this is gonna end the stinger right there. No.
Oh,
Anyway,
very good.
Here's the next one, of
Uh,
course. Of course. Here's the secondary one since no one's giving a rant. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
100% a night owl. No question about it. I have to be dragged out of bed in the morning. I hate it. I have this. Unfortunately, I'm an insomniac, so
Oh, okay.
I can go like 5 days straight and not sleep. I'm terrible. I'm really horrendous. I was especially bad with it at uni, but it was great for getting my assignments done.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, no, I've always been a night owl. Always will be. This is like productive hour for me.
Right.
I mean, I'll get up kind of 8, 9ish in the morning, do house duties, etc. Do a
Mhm.
little bit of admin, stream, and then yeah, my evenings is admin, dinners, and that's edit creative time for me. And I will go to like 4 in the morning, just going, you know, getting on with it because that's when I like it. And my brain, like, I'll try to go to bed right at midnight, 1 a.m.
Mm.
and I will sit in bed. My brain just doesn't shut off. And then I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to go do the shopping. And I'm just like, I can't. They're all shut. It's just, it drives me nuts. The thing is, I'm terrible because I used to be a Minecraft commission builder. So
Wow.
one of the things I would do is I wouldn't sleep, but you know when you kind of like zone out and your brain kind of I do a
Mhm.
lot of that. But I would sit and that's how I design my builds. I would just sleep it through and I'd like walk through it in my head, and the next day I'd get on and build it. Like that was the creative process, was just do it that way. It was a really stupid way of doing it, but it's like when your brain can't shut off. I end up being more creative when I'm kind of in that half sleep state, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
The problem is, as soon as I get up in the morning and do drag myself out, it's like, I got to get pad of paper and write it all down because otherwise, you know, brain fuzz.
You'll forget. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, definitely a night owl. Definitely a night owl.
Yeah, because I have to do that for when I make scheduling for people. I usually use my calendars. I mean, this is my calendar for the rest of
Oh,
January.
blimey.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's good to always write something down. Otherwise, if you forget it, good luck.
Always have a pen and paper handy. You never know.
Oh yeah. But anyway, that is the end of the show for tonight. And of course, thank you again, Miss Charede, for coming on. It's been a
thank you.
pleasure. And you're always
Great.
welcome to come back, of course. It doesn't have
I
to
would
be
love
like all the
to.
time.
I want to hear more about you. I'm so sorry. I just decided I want to get started on something.
It was great. We heard your passion about gaming and all, about your livelihood in the UK. That's always an interesting factor because again, we're in two separate hemispheres. Well, not separate hemispheres, but we're in two different places where
Yeah, decent distance apart. Let's put it that way.
yeah. And so if and like you were saying earlier, if you were to come to America, you'd be like, what does all this mean? I understand English, but what else is that?
Yeah, there's so many things that just culturally that little bit different.
Yeah.
To make it a whole different experience. Yeah.
Yeah. At least we have fried food, so that's something you understand.
Let's start. Yeah. Just don't put me in charge of the kitchen. Everything will be burnt. All right.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. But
charcoal for the charcoal gods.
But anyway, I end the show with another music video of sorts that I play from the same artist as the one we did earlier. So this one is "One Day with You" by Pogo, and of course, don't forget to mute yourself. Ice because will bleed in. But again, hope to see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern with the lovely Barbara Lawrence, who is part of B-Roll Stage. Have a wonderful night, guys, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.